Cheers, queers! What's on the big gay agenda today, Theora?
Today we are continuing our scene-by-scene breakdown of Heartstopper Season 3, and today we'll be discussing Episode 6, Body. Ooh.
Woo! All right, and of course, today we have joining us is Elena.
Hi.
Because we cannot do Heartstopper without her.
Wait, it is impossible.
Hello.
We hope that you enjoy being here as much as we love having you.
I really do. Thank you, guys.
All right, and before we get into the episode, just make sure that you're doing all the things, following us, liking the podcast, come check out the Patreon, join the Discord, do all the things. You know the drill, and let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, so we start with April. It's been 4 months since Charlie has left Inpatient, and of course, Charlie being Charlie, he's downplaying how far he has come. But he has Jeff in his corner, and he won't stand for that. So he's making him think about the progress he has made, because he has made so much progress, even if he doesn't think it. And this is a very clever way to be able to have a time jump, but also see what happened in those 4 months through highlights. And because compared to the previous seasons, this season encompasses the most time. So it's just a very interesting way to see that, and it doesn't make the time jump jarring, like some shows do. So we learned that Charlie started back to school in January, and the first thing we get with him in school is Farouk telling him that he could come to him if he needed anything, and it's just so sweet to see Farouk in his corner as well, because we know he has Nathan already, but it's just so special with Farouk because Farouk does see himself in Charlie because of his experiences in school, and I feel like once Farouk saw himself in Charlie, he just invested himself in his progress and is like, I will support you no matter what. Also, Farouk's arc has been such a joy as well, because he went from this like closed off, hardened exterior teacher to opening up and actually finding himself as well through his relationship with Nathan. And I think he's like really starting to accept himself and just his world, and it's making positive strides for him.
Yeah, like speaking of coming a long way, like Yusuf is definitely the character in the background who's had tremendous growth, like you said.
Yeah. And Charlie also gets a warm welcome back by everybody, and he seems to be fully supported, which is very nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, how could you not love him?
I know the stark contrast from season 1, like when he's going into the changing room for the very first time and how awkward that was, to now, like literally all the boys go and tackle hug him. So sweet.
Yeah. It's cute. Very sweet.
So many people have gone through growth, and it's nice to see. So unfortunately, Charlie does relapse 2 weeks later, and this seems to be weighing on him currently because of the fact that he relapsed. So obviously you're not magically fixed when you get out of an inpatient program, but it's so depressing when you do get those moments from that feel exactly like the moments that you went through right before going into inpatient. It's like, why did I do this? Like, I made no progress at all. I'm right back where I was. And so like, I understand why this is making him feel like he's kind of a failure in that sense, but he's not, because this is a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster. And his relapse included arguing with Nick over him eating. And we then get the solitaire scene where Tory has to have Nick come back after their argument. And so it's like nice to see that solitaire tie-in, but just really sad that he's going through this.
Yeah, I have to wonder for Charlie, like, what is it about it that's weighing on him more? Is it the fact that he argued with Nick, or is it the actual relapse itself? Or is it a combination of both, like equally? Because obviously, like, the argument with Nick is what led him to relapse, but what is it exactly that's weighing on him? Because we see the actual argument scene. So obviously that part is weighing on him, but how much is it actually? So
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, because I think in this conversation with Jeff, there's like a hint that Charlie feels like a failure a little bit, that like everything's not perfect. So I wonder if that's like part of the OCD is kind of like, wow, Charlie, you're not perfect. You're arguing with Nick. I wonder if it's like a combination, maybe like you're saying, but
yeah, like you're
either way.
one perfect or whatever in his mind. You're one safe place you've
Yeah,
done and messed it up, or because now
right,
he's walked away
exactly.
from you too, or whatever, because of what you did. Yeah, in
Right.
his mind, that's
Yeah,
what he's thinking for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
I think so.
that's
Yeah.
definitely possible.
yeah,
Because he's like, I ruin everything because of this, and I'm never going to get better, so why?
Yeah.
yeah. He falls back into that I just ruin people's lives kind of mindset. Ugh.
Yeah.
I feel you, Charlie. He's just, it's a rough time. But luckily, it seems that Charlie and Nick's relationship has gotten better. And Jeff says something really interesting. And he says that maybe it's because Charlie's not constantly thinking about his intrusive thoughts, that he finally has more energy and more space to think about Nick and put that energy into their relationship and working on that. And then we get a montage of him doing that, and the whole thing's just really cute and, really gay. But it's nice to see him be happy, especially after having just seen that relapse scene and then seeing them really work through it.
I think Jeff's become like one of my favorite characters in this season for sure. I'm so glad we got more time with him like in the show, because like obviously we only get to see a glimpse of him in the comics for obvious logistical reasons and story reasons. But I love that we get to have time to sit down, and also his writing is one of my favorite things. His dialogue, um, just like Charlie asks, "Do you practice your motivational pep talks, or do they just come to you?" And he goes, "They just come to me. I'm a talented person." Um,
I love
he
that.
just like Charlie's sarcastic, and he's just sarcastic back in a very kind way that's not condescending, but it's meeting Charlie's energy. I think he um says something about it's been 4 months since he's been out of inpatient. He's like, I should bake a cake. And Jeff goes, I know you're being sarcastic, but that's a lovely idea.
I also think that's a lovely idea. Can we have some?
I know. He's like, Charlie's like, okay, fine. Like about talking about his progress. He's like, okay, fine, happy. And Jeff like just goes, yeah, delighted.
So
Like,
cute.
So matter of
Perfect
fact.
in
therapist.
No.
such a kind, loving way to Charlie. He doesn't put up with Charlie's shit, and I love it.
Yeah.
Jeff and Susan are the therapists that we all need. And I want them to both have a spinoff where they're just like running like a psychiatric like clinic, inpatient, outpatient, whatever it may be, so we can get a bunch of different stories. But then the two of them having to run like group therapy sessions together. I think that would be a really funny dynamic.
You know what headcanon I would love for fanfiction writers to run with? They're actually siblings. Jeff and Susan are actually just siblings.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. Ooh, that's a good
Or
one.
family of some kind, and they share this
Yeah, like
passion or
cousins or something.
something. Because they're part of the
Yeah.
same clinic, so
Yeah, that's interesting.
Ooh, I love that.
Someone do
write
it.
it.
Do it.
Do it. And then we get to the title card. So the title of the show and episode here are written, and then it's mirrored back. And then it goes into the black fuzziness that we know as Charlie's anxiety. So to me, this is imitating looking in the mirror and communicating that Charlie is still hating what he sees in the mirror, which is why this episode is titled Body. But I did notice that there is hope, because there needs to always be hope. Because we don't end with the black fuzziness, because they could have easily just like faded out from the fuzziness. They bring it back to the original mirror, And it's indicating that Charlie will get past this.
Gotta love that hope in the animations. Well done, everyone.
It's not Heartstopper if there isn't a little bit of it's gonna be okay kind of mentality always.
Don't panic.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, after this is we cut to Lambert. That's the school's name. I was like, what's the school name? Lambert, the art school where Elle is at her art college. She's with Elle, Naomi, and Felix in this class. Probably just in like a standard painting class, I guess. They're all doing self-portraits, it looks like. Elle's done a fantastic self-portrait. And the teacher, their professor, comes over and approaches about the radio station contacting and wanting to interview Elle about her artwork. So I love that the teacher in this scene, they clarify. They want to make sure they don't try to pressure Elle. They just say, I just came to ask if that's something you're comfortable with. Let me know what you think. Like, I'll send you the details. There is no like, you should totally do it. You should do this. It's just I just want to offer it to you. It's there. And then I think the friends don't even, like, after the teacher walks away, I don't think they even say, Elle, you should take it. You should totally do it in this moment. They just say, oh my God, Elle, you're famous. Like, just so encouraging. Like, wow, even just getting this interview offer is a great thing because it shows, like, how great you're doing. And I think that's really sweet that there is no pressure in this moment of, oh, you should totally do it. So.
Yeah, I agree. What I thought was weird, though, is that, like, the radio station went through the school, which I thought was kind of weird because the thing that was making Elle giving her notoriety was Instagram. So I found it weird that she wasn't approached through her Instagram. It was like they went through the school, which was
That's true.
interesting.
The only thing I could think of is that they aren't allowed to contact a minor.
True.
Yeah, I was thinking that
Directly.
too. It's just odd
But
that it went through school.
As we know later, they don't really care about the rules with minors.
Right.
So
anyway,
my hope is
maybe that was like too much of a paper trail.
My hope is that
not that the other thing wasn't.
Oh, sorry, Ian.
You're good.
Yeah, my hope is that if they're contacting the school, like, it's public knowledge where she goes to school, because that's the other thing.
Right,
is
that too.
Okay, well, if she's famous through Instagram, who Instagram stalked her and found out what school she goes to?
Right, no, totally.
Like, is that just public knowledge?
It was just very strange.
Somebody probably like tracked down her painting from her art show from the previous year, from when she got accepted or something like that. Maybe somebody could have easily,
or she probably posted something about Lambert on her Instagram, and they're like, oh, she goes to this school.
Maybe tag the location.
Probably, I hope so.
But this is showing kids, don't tag your location unless you want people to find you. You know, when like Facebook came out with that like tagging locations, yeah, I had to deal with my mom tagging us in our house. Anyway, that's a whole nother story for another day.
Yeah. Be safe online, kids. This is not, remember the days of PSAs being safe online when we were in middle school? Yeah, that's still relevant. That's still very relevant. Anyway. Yeah, so we cut from that to Elle's got like this look of smiling on her face. Like, obviously she's contemplating, like, like just trying to decide how she wants to take that information of these people want to interview you about your art. So after this, we go to TrueHim, and we see Nicholas in the hallway, probably just walking. I assume he's probably going to find Charlie. And it's so cute because he goes to find Charlie in the practice room, and it's really cute that he hears Charlie before he sees him, because he can hear Charlie in the practice room playing his drums, and he like pauses in the hallway and he just smiles like, that's my man playing his music. He goes up, he finds Charlie in the practice room, and he just peeks through the glass for a second, which I think is really cute. He just gives Charlie like another second to like keep practicing without interrupting. Can I just say, first of all, these practice rooms are huge.
Right?
Like, The ones at my school, I don't know about you guys, but the ones at my college were dinky. They were tiny compared to this. These are huge.
Is it a
this is a high
practice room, or
school.
did he just take over a classroom to
I
practice?
mean, he calls it a practice room in the show, but I'm like,
Mm.
is it the practice room? I don't know. He calls it a practice room. So I'm like,
I mean, the drums were already
Yeah.
there, so like I don't see him carrying around drums, you know. So I assume this is like there's musical equipment in this room, so it must be dedicated to some sort of practicing.
yeah.
It's also, but it's not like a high school that's dedicated towards music, so I don't see them having more than this one room.
I mean, maybe UK schools are different and they actually
That's
have
true.
funded art programs in their high schools.
That's true. They care about the arts, maybe?
I mean,
don't
that's
know.
fair.
I didn't look into that.
I also
part.
did grow up I did go to college in a state where they didn't federally fund the arts because they didn't think it was valuable enough. So I'm like, I guess that makes sense. Welcome to America. Welcome to the Midwest.
Yeah. I do love this. I do love the scene where Nick is peeping on Charlie while he's like playing the drums, and Charlie has no idea. It's just like ultimate golden retriever Nick, because he sees Charlie and he's like, boyfriend. It's so cute. And like Charlie is just in his black cat energy, not paying attention to the world, just doing his drums. It's very cute.
Yeah. And then enter Nicholas, stage left, or more up stage left, if you will.
Right.
Immediately comes over. He goes, scoops Charlie up, spins him around. Again, if it's not a season of Heartstopper, if there isn't at least one moment where Nick scoops up Charlie and spins him, that's just their thing.
So cute.
It
is.
Yeah, and it's really sweet. So it's Charlie's birthday today. Our boy is 16. Oh my god, so much has happened. Yeah, and so Nick, for his birthday, surprises him with some really cute tickets to go see Jack Maddox, who is an author that Charlie's obsessed with. Me too, my dude. Side note, I just want to say, as a comic reader, Charlie's also super obsessed with this band called The Ark. It's this boy band. It's in another one of Alice's novels called I Was Born for This. It's actually it's actually from their perspective. So, or it's more focused on them.
Yeah, I read that novel.
I need to read it.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, so I would love at some point us get a glimpse or even just a reference to them. I'm kind of surprised they haven't been referenced. I get like why they wouldn't have the band, because that would require like more casting, more actors they'd have to hire.
Yes.
So I get like the practicalities as like a filmmaker and everything.
But
give us a poster or something, or like a tour, like tour dates or something.
We got Taylor Swift.
I know, right? So give us a band poster. Like I know. There's some fan out there who would be so happy, that would make their life to be able to make a fan poster of this band and make it into the show. 100%.
Seriously.
That fan's name is Elena.
I can't draw to save my life, Kaylin. What are you talking about?
Some fan.
You don't have to draw. You just like drag and drop things on Illustrator.
Graphic design? Nah. I'll leave it up to graphic designers.
I'll help you.
Why don't you just do it, Kaylin?
No one got time for that.
That's fair. Nobody gets time for that. Yeah. I think if I remember right, the mini comic about this author, who was originally called Henry Maddox in the comics, I think this was originally not written by Alice, but I think Alice illustrated it, if I remember right. And it basically made it canon. So it was like a collaborative effort. Somebody else wrote it, and then Alice, if I'm remembering this right. But it's really cool that this actually made it into the show, and it's like officially show canon. Like, hell yeah. So when Nick gives Charlie these tickets, he says, yeah, he's doing the lecture and the book signing. Which, first of all, I assume Charlie probably knew that this was happening. So the look on his face when he goes, wait, we actually get to meet him? He's probably thinking, oh my god, wait, we're going to this book signing. I get to meet this guy? What? So naturally, tackle hugs his boyfriend, proclaims his love for him, as you do when they buy you tickets to meet your celebrity crush, obviously. But Nick teases, he's just like, oh, well, obviously you don't love me as much as you love Jack Maddox. Hey,
I love jealous
hey,
Nick.
man. If, say, we were talking about season 1 Charlie and Tao got you tickets to go, I don't know, to a freaking kissing booth or something to kiss Nick Nelson, I think he would do the same thing. Somebody write that fan fiction, that terrible idea for fan fiction.
They have a crossover with the kissing booth.
Oh, God. I mean, could be. So, Charlie asks Nick if he can get a birthday kiss. Because, that's apparently a requirement in relationships. I wouldn't know. But, well, it's true. But Nick happily obliges. And this is where things get a little bit heated very quickly. It gets more intense than either of them probably intended it to. And at one point, Charlie has to break away, and he says, we should probably... And Nick kind of gets where he's going with what he's trying to say, and he goes, yeah, not at school.
When has that ever stopped them, first of all? The school part? Like, come on now.
mean, I don't know. The amount of times I don't know if they've ever been walked in on at school, but they definitely gotten walked in on in other places, so who knows.
Yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, so the thing that I think is what makes this scene so funny at the end is Charlie's body language at the end. He literally does this awkward little thing where as he's turning away from Nick, he swings his arms in a very awkward way. Like, he's so, he's, purposely trying to stand up straight as he's, turning away to, go grab his bag. And he's like, it's almost form time anyway.
Charlie's like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
He's like, I don't know what to do with any part of me, but I cannot be looking at you right now. So, yeah, Joe's body language in this just made me laugh. It's so good.
It's very teenage boy trying to calm down, but doesn't know what to do with all this energy. It is
yeah,
it's awkward. Let's go to class.
Yeah, and then he changes the subject. He's like, but Saturday we're having the sleepover.
Saturday.
So, oof.
Yes. All right, but before we move on, we have to interrupt this video for a few brief Patreon shoutouts. So we have so many lovely Chaos Crew Patreon members, and we want to make sure they all know that we appreciate them, but we also want to make sure that everybody listening, watching, any way you're consuming this episode, we appreciate you as well, because any little bit of support that you give us means the world and it enables us to keep spreading the joy of queer content. So thank you, all of you. So our Chaos Crew members on our Big Gay Ride or Die tier and above are Angela, Natalia, INA, Jill L, Regina B, Monet F, Dana, Shy, Isla, Madison, and A-Mix New Monzone _multi. Thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying our craziness that is our Big Gay Energy After Dark. And our featured Big Gay supporter members for this episode are Close to You 28, Casey, and Natharis. Thank you again. And thank you again to all of you. Come join us either on Patreon or Discord or both, or, wherever.
Wherever you need your Big Gay energy fix, or friends, because there's friendships happening, which is fun.
Yeah, and if you just want to shout about queer media, because let's be real, if you're watching this, you want to. So come shout out about it. Come just talk about it with us. All right, there you go. That's the right words.
Speaking of friendships, so let's get back to Heartstopper. So in the next scene, we shoot on over to Charlie's bedroom where Isaac, Tao, and Charlie are hanging out, just being boys. And when the scene opens, it's Tao and Isaac sharing a bag of crisps, and Tao's eating them, and then he's like, I'm done with this. And he tosses the bag over on the other side of the bed, and it just so happens to be where the stuffed lemur is hanging out. So it almost looks like Tao passed the chips to the lemur, and the lemur's hanging out with the bag of chips, which I find really funny. I'm sure this was not on purpose or anything. I just find it amusing that the lemur ends up with a bag of chips. Okay.
I love that you pointed that out.
It was super random when I saw it, and I was like, that's really funny. The lemur ends up with the food. Anyway, so they're hanging out, and Charlie confesses to his friends basically the scene we just saw with Nick. And Charlie's like, it happened again. And it being super intense makeout sessions with Nick that get super awkward once they stop. And like in the scene, their animations are more intense too. So it's not just like the spark of electricity, it's like a meteor shower of electricity. So like a sexual tension is a brewing between the two. And Isaac and Tao immediately understand that that's what's happening here. And then the conversation transitions into, are you ready to have sex with Dick? Which they're being very mature about handling this, but like also immature because they're boys. So I appreciate the way this was all kind of done. So like Tao is basically like, do not get into the details with me, Charlie. I don't. But Isaac's like, avid book reader here. I want all the funny details. Charlie, tell me literally everything. So I love that.
Yeah, we have to have another moment of appreciation just for Heartstopper showing this conversation between male teens.
Yes.
In a healthy way, because it's like the perfect mix of like handling things appropriately, but also, you know, when you're a teenager, like it's weird and fun and like to talk about with your friends, but they're not making him feel bad about anything, pressuring him, anything like that. They're just having this really adorable conversation where Tao does not want to hear details, even though he would definitely give the details for himself.
Oh, that is absolutely what happens, because when given the chance to talk about sex, what does Tao do? He starts waxing poetic about Elle. So like, yeah, Tao is such a hypocrite in this scene, which I find hilarious. But like, oh my god. So yeah, I agree. I think this was a good depiction of how to have this conversation as boys without toxic masculinity baked into this conversation. Because like, yeah, Tao literally waxes poetic about Elle, and then Isaac's like, listen, I just want to know what's going on. Everything, give me everything. And like, and then Charlie's like the shy boy a bit about it, but nobody's like nobody's bragging or doing anything weird. It's very cute the way they're kind of like talking about it in different ways, but like together it's a healthy conversation, which is really cute.
Yeah, the way that Tao approaches it when he like starts doing the sharing of his sex life with Elle, it's more like it's him doing a reflection in a way that's like how he remembers it, and it's not in a braggy way. It's literally just, I remember how wonderful it was because I love Elle, in sort of like a very Tao fashion of just like fawning over his girlfriend and everything. So I love that so much. And I love how it really, like, in the way that it does tackle toxic masculinity. A lot of the time when you hear in media, at least, like men, especially straight men, stereotyped in these kind of talks, they're always like belittling their partners or minimizing their partners, especially if they're female. So I love it that it just naturally goes against all of that by just simply not acknowledging it and doing it in a way that's like so much more just like out of respect for his partner, but still boys being boys. So
yeah, it's still playful in nature, which is very sweet. And yeah, and like Tao's reflection is very like emotional based as well, which also something I love about Tao, which is very passionate the way he's talking.
It's so true. It's such a Tao thing.
It's so good. It's
Tao can't do anything without being passionate.
I know, that's why I love him so
That's
much.
very true. He's very invested in stuff. I know. I love, and the funny thing is, it's just how Isaac couldn't care less about Tao's sex life, but he is invested in Charlie's. It's just like, Isaac, are you that reader that loves the slow burn, like the super excruciatingly long slow burn romances where they don't even like talk to each other properly until chapter 10?
You know, he really could be.
Probably.
He would be
but
that guy.
Also, Tao's probably telling them every detail as it happens.
I think he's like, enough. Yeah,
like how long after it happened at New Year's did he end up telling them? That's the real question. Probably like the next day or something.
Oh, the second.
Or yeah, he came downstairs after midnight and was just like, guys, we totally just had sex. But not like in a weird way, just like oh my god, I cannot believe that was amazing.
It was magical. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was surprised too, so.
Oh my god. That was so fucking funny. Okay, so back to Charlie though. So Charlie, I also like the fact that they frame the question as like, "Are you ready, Charlie?" Basically, which I think is another, again, a healthy way to kind of like think about this, and a good way for them to communicate it. So Charlie says that like basically yes, he does. He's at the point where he's ready. I think Charlie's kind of been ready for a while, but like he had a lot of other stuff going on. So there's part of Charlie that we've seen since, I mean, since the beginning, really, where he's like always afraid of pressuring Nick into something he doesn't want to do. So I think that's part of what's going on with Charlie. But because like go back to their conversation in Paris when they first kind of talked about sex, where Charlie was like, I don't want to pressure Nick into anything he's not ready to do. So I feel like that's always like in his brain when this topic kind of comes up.
Yeah. Also, like when he does kick the guys out for, he's like, I need to change. It's so funny. So shout out to Caitlin for getting me into watching these shows with closed captioning on. Like going back and rewatching with captions afterwards because I missed so many of these hidden gems without it. Especially like the dialogue in between scenes. So literally as Charlie is kicking out Tao and Isaac, he shuts the door behind him, and you just hear the caption show Tao and Isaac start singing, "You like sexy time, doo doo."
God.
And I went back and I watched it and I cackled at that moment because I was like, why have I never noticed this? Because I didn't have captions on. So much goes missed.
Yeah.
Like so many gems if you don't like have the captions because you can't always hear them very clear. And you even if you can hear it, you can't hear it clearly. You can't hear what's actually being said. It's like when Charlie and what was it, like episode 3, I think, when he goes, "We lit a light bulb." I wouldn't have caught that if there was no captions.
That was so cute.
So
it's so funny. And Darcy has a lot of
yes
lines where it's just like thrown away because it's in between. It's great. I recommend captions.
I know. It makes it so much better.
Also because it keeps me actually focused on it because anyway.
Exactly.
You never know what you're missing.
No. What? That was a good one. I appreciate being pointed out to that because it's so on brand. Again, playful teenage boys. So yeah, back to Charlie. Part of his hesitancy is like, what is Nick's thinking? I'm afraid to ask. But then the other piece that we've been hinted at for quite some time, and going back to the title of this episode, is Charlie's body dysmorphia is the other component. So he's afraid of Nick essentially looking at him and being like, ew. Because he hides under his clothes, and like he often wears like, cardigans and like pants. So he's usually pretty covered up. So Charlie's like, oh no, what if he sees me? And so to Elena's point, eventually he kicks the boys out of the room so he can change. So he's not comfortable changing in front of his friends, is the hint there too. But then he does start to change and he's like looking at himself in the mirror, and he just looks very uncomfortable just being alone with his, in his own skin in a way. And the other thing that we see in this scene when Charlie takes his shirt off is in front of the mirror, is he's got the track marks on his left arm or right arm.
Yeah,
his right arm. Sorry.
Yeah, it looks like he's got them on both, but like the ones on his right arm or on his left arm look a lot more fresh and more raw. So maybe they just are more recent. The other ones have kind of just like healed over time. Is kind of what it looks like, or it could just be something with the makeup. I don't know. I like to think that it's just canon that they're a little bit longer healed. So
yeah, it's a good one.
But this whole scene is basically the title card playing out.
Yeah, because we got his reflection. So, and I think because he's not super comfortable in his own skin, I think that that's part of why Charlie thinks Nick would be kind of put off, to use his words, because like that's Charlie projecting onto Nick his own insecurity about how he feels. So, and that's real. A lot of people are like not super comfortable in their own skin, and like it is the way Charlie's like, well, it's one thing to change in a locker room where like there's a functionality to what we're doing. Like everybody's just changing into their sports gear or whatever. It's a whole other thing to like do that in front of another person where like your nakedness or vulnerability is going to be the focus of that other person. So it's like more exposure. Is that Ringo? Hi, Ringo's tail. Ringo's here for the body talk. Okay, so after Charlie changes, we then cut to the start of Charlie's 16th birthday celebration, which is taking place at his house. So his parents are out of town, and Paris Squad is over to throw a proper party for him. And they've got booze and games and everything. They went all out for this. It's very cute.
Yeah. But while they're like there, I think that this is another closed captioning catch. They're like Charlie's telling them to like not break something or like don't drink too much, something like that. And Tal's response is fine. Darcy says, yes, sir. Isaac says, sounds like a note for Imogen.
Right.
It's definitely the don't drink.
Yeah, I think he asked like, please don't puke anywhere. I think is what he asks. So
yeah. Okay, yes, that
sounds
one.
about right.
I apologize. Imogen says, how have I got this reputation? And I'm just like,
girl,
really, Imogen? You can't think of any possibility of why you have this reputation right now. But also, at least Imogen has taken this reputation from Darcy because Darcy was that in the previous season.
That's true. That was Darcy's Paris folly.
So basically, these friends need to realize if someone is puking at parties, what is going on in their lives?
Yeah, they're not okay. Okay, so then the gang starts partying and they're starting to get ready for like a drinking game, I suppose. And like Tara is like filling her drink all the way to the like very top of the cup with wine because she says, quote, I need a night off. And so I get the impression that this poor girl has not relaxed since the season started. Like, as every time they're at a party, she's always like stress drinking, which nobody else seems to notice. So that will come to a head in this episode as well. And the teenagers are teenagers, let's say. So they're making a, quote, potion that the loser has to drink for whatever the game is. And, like, it gets so ridiculous that, like, Darcy starts, like, I think, like, putting chips in it. And, like, something children do when you leave them alone at restaurant tables and they start, like, mixing the mustard and ketchup and stuff together. Like, that's what they're doing. They're like, loser drinks this. And
yeah, no, like using the word potion makes me laugh because it's like that specific word because like I know of kids like wanting to make potions and they mix all of the shampoos, condition, anything in the bathroom into the tub to make a potion. It's just so I just find it like these kids are mixing alcohol to drink. It's ridiculous.
But it's like a worse version of like jungle juice. So when you're like, if you've ever heard that term, when you're just like broke and partying, it's just like all the alcohols get mixed together and then you put something sweet in it so you don't taste it and that's like the drink you drink. But like they're like literally just like, no, everything in the house, including food, is going into this and the loser will suffer with our like, oh my God, it's just really funny what they were doing. We never see the game play out or who drinks this. I just think it's really random that they had it in here and very funny. Okay, so then everybody kind of starts like talking and hanging out. We don't see them play a drinking game. They're just like, that was implied by the potion. But then they start kind of just like hanging out and stuff. And then Nick gets third wheeled against his will by Imogen, who confesses that things are weird with Sahar right now and that they haven't spoken since New Year's. So like these two interact and then they like don't speak for months. And now Imogen's like, I need to talk to somebody about this. Let me talk to the lesbian third wheeler, Nick. So
how are they functioning without talking though? Because they're in the same friend group at this point now.
I don't know. So Nick advises Imogen, he's like, instead of talking to the lesbian whisperer, aka me, why don't you go talk to her and like work this out? And Imogen looks like really, really worried. Like, I'm sure she's thought of this, but she's like, ugh. So I get the impression that like Imogen at this point has like sat with her feelings and like her actions over the past couple of months and has been actively processing stuff instead of like ignoring it, brushing it off, and is like scared to confront it. So and then we cut to Sahar, who like doesn't look worried or beaten up the way Imogen kind of does, and she's at this point working on recruiting Charlie to play drums for her band for an up and coming gig, which we will see later. And he's like, I'll think about it. And it's like, yes, we saw Charlie playing drums at the beginning of this as a clue that yes, the boy plays the drums and he's good at it. But again, Charlie's somebody who doesn't like spotlights, so like playing in front of a crowd especially a strange crowd, like at a gig, I feel like would be intimidating to Charlie. So he's like, I gotta think this over, which totally makes sense. And I realized during this scene that like this is one of the very few times that I can recall where Sahar and Charlie were having a conversation alone or interacting by themselves. And like, I want more of this, please and thank you. Because like,
I want more of Sahar.
Well, that's
That
it.
too.
I mean, yeah, I'll take more scenes with them, but
Yeah, I think
I freaking love Sahar.
I think this is like, from what I remember, the only time that they actually talk one-on-one ever in the show.
Yeah.
Which
Okay. I'm not going nuts.
no, wholeheartedly agree. They need more screen time, the two of them, especially because like the interviews with Joe and Layla are so freaking cute. I love their friendship. It's just so sweet.
Oh.
So wholeheartedly support more screen time for Charlie and Sahar. More, or just more of Joe and
Yeah.
Layla together, period, please.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that because like Nick interacts one-on-one with Imogen a lot, and it is weird that like Charlie hasn't really interacted with Sahar one-on-one. It's more like she became part of the group, but like didn't really orbit Charlie, which is very interesting. He's like the center of the group, so it's interesting. So,
If we get a season 4, I would love to see like the pairings like completely switch up and just
totally
like see what would happen if like they were forced to be indifferent. Because I think we had a little bit of that at one point. I can't fully remember the scene right now, but I think we talked about it. But like fully like people that you don't really see interact by themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I still wish we could see is Imogen with the other girls like a lot more. And like
yeah, that is
or just with like that group of like Tara, Darcy, and Elle. Like we don't really get to see Imogen with them. We only have seen them like the one time in season 1 where she's like, I'm an ally. That's the last time I think we saw her just with them. So
yeah, that's also a really good point. That is kind of weird that like Imogen only shows up when the boys are there.
Yeah, like I think
that's also an interesting thing. Like maybe she's trying to remove herself from.
Yeah, I think the one time we do see her with the group is like when they're at school, and that's it. Which is good. I like that we do see her with them. That she is hanging out with them at school. I think that's great. But I want to see more of this group, this specific group.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, speaking of the group, so then the gang sings happy birthday and presents a homemade cake to Charlie, and it's so I love the fondant stars on this thing, the way they're like not perfect stars, like they're clearly like hand cut out, like free cut out, not with a stencil. Like it's so cute, and I want to know who baked it.
Yeah, so I had
Go ahead, would you like to answer?
I had a theory on this. I thought my headcanon was that it was Nick because it's canon in the comics that Nick is a baker, that he loves making cakes. So I was like, it's probably Nick, and it could have been really cute if it was a team effort between him and Tori.
Okay, I would love that. But it would have been a travesty, whatever the word is, that we didn't see it. If that
honestly,
was
agreed.
So I did go back and I watched it with captions again. Shout out to Caitlin for starting this with me. I went back and I watched it, and apparently there is a moment where Imogen says, I made it. Something about like, tell me what you think. So Imogen's actually the one who made it. So
I would not have, if you made me guess, I would never have guessed Imogen.
Exactly.
That's so interesting.
Imogen, but it does kind of make sense because Imogen's always looking for something to distract her.
That's true.
So I think this would be a good way for, and she also cares a lot about the people in her life.
I guess that's true. Like at the beginning, she was like, remember she overcompensated by bringing all the things to the
Yeah.
beach? I bring the fun. So I can see her like, I
Yeah,
didn't
like,
know she
she's
would
like,
bake it. She might like buy a cake, but like, it's interesting she made
I
it.
wonder if she felt.
yeah, I think.
Oh, go on, Caitlin. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wonder if so when the beginning of season 2, when she comes over for the sleepover, she brings basically nothing, from what we can tell, except for like her
Yeah.
essentials, like her bag and all of her like toiletries and everything. We
Right.
assume. She brings what she needs, but she doesn't bring like snacks or anything to the party. Obviously, Charlie's providing everything, but like I wonder if she felt awkward because she didn't bring anything, and that's why now she's overcompensating. Like, oh, if I bring stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very. I mean, I was the same way in certain groups. I was like, if I bring the snacks, will people like me more?
Right. I can see Imogen thinking along those lines for sure,
Yeah.
especially as she gets insecure. More insecure, maybe?
Yeah, I think it comes from a place of like feeling like you as a person don't have much to give in like your presence. And so, not me projecting about this at all, but like I feel like no, of course
that's not what this podcast is. For therapy.
But like just feeling like, oh well, if I have this physical matter of like things I can actually give, like snacks or gifts or anything, oh well, people will want my presence. People will like me more because I have a package deal. I include these nice things. So
there's a reason I'm in this friend group.
Yeah, right.
Because she was added later, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. She adopted the mom role. I'll bring the snacks.
Yeah, she is the mom friend.
Well, I'm drinking too much.
Like she's a wine mom.
She's the cool aunt friend.
Yeah, right.
She's a wine mom who's going through some shit and realizing that she's not in love with her husband.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely what's happening. Damn. Okay, so there's no transition from that. So at this point, Tori then joins the party, which is really cute because we don't see her enter. She's just there for like giving Charlie the cake and singing happy birthday. So I love that she showed up for that. And it kind of cuts to Charlie getting a piece of cake and he's with Nick, and Nick looks kind of worried about eating the cake because like it's obligatory that you eat the cake. And Charlie's like, no, I want to do this. Like I want to try the cake. And so he does. And I love that like it's not a big deal. Nobody's focusing on him eating the cake, and he seems happy about it and proud that he actually like was able to eat his own birthday cake without an issue. So I get the sense like from this little moment that like this party actually feels like normal for Charlie. Like I'm just a normal boy enjoying my 16th birthday, unlike the disaster that was Christmas. So it's April and he has made a lot of strides since like he went into recovery and rehab, and like I feel like this is his first big event that he has that actually feels normal to Charlie because he's behaving very normally and seems like genuinely happy here, which I love for him.
I think it definitely helps, especially.
And it's also.
Oh, sorry, Caitlin. I keep cutting you off. What were you gonna say?
You're okay. I was gonna say it's also an event that's focusing on him too. I mean, obviously they're not focusing on him eating, but the focus is still on him. So this is a lot of progress.
Yeah. Like that's kind of what I was gonna say too. Like the fact that, especially because Christmas was kind of an obligation for him, whereas this is an event that yes, it is solely on him, and that obviously can be a lot for him. But this is his friend group, and this is purely a place of love. This is. Imogen made this cake because she loves Charlie, because she is his friend, because she really cares about him. It's out of love. It's not about obligation. It's not about, oh, I have to do this. I have to pretend I'm normal. He just is with people who love him no matter what. So that probably helps a lot.
Definitely. Like clearly this is more of a safe environment for Charlie. Like Tori, like of all the family members, it's just Tori. Parents are gone. And his friends who know the truth about what happened to him. So like, yeah, it's very safe for Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie even says, like at the beginning of the episode, I think he said specifically about Nick, he's seen me at rock bottom and he hasn't run away screaming. None of these guys have. Obviously, like not all of them,
none of them
saw it as explicitly as Nick saw it, or like as Tori saw it or anything with Charlie, but they're still here too, man. They still love you.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And at the end of this part of the scene, I guess they're talking about figuring out what game to play because they want to play a game. I guess either they didn't play the drinking game yet, or that ended. They want to play more games. But Imogen suggests that they should play Never Have I Ever, because Imogen just wants some secrets to get spilled.
It's probably whoever says I have done that enough times is the one who has to drink it.
Right? That's probably where the potion goes in.
Probably Darcy.
Yes.
Maybe Sahar. You never know.
That's
what
a good
secret
point.
life does she
You never
live?
know.
Does she lead?
We need to know more
need
about
to know.
Sahar. Because we don't know enough. We only know very few facts.
Yeah. I mean, every lead guitarist has a story.
Let us hear the story.
All right. So then we get a new person coming to visit, and Tao answers the door. And who is there?
It's Michael Holden. Yay! And I love the way he says hello, like really bright and like sing-songy. And Tao's like, "Do you have other friends, Charlie? Like, who is that?"
Tao's like, "What is this,
Charlie?
I never seen this person in my life."
Right. And here he is, just being like, they've known each other for 15 years, and Tao's like, "Who is this human?" I love Michael.
Also, part of Tao's probably like, "Why don't I know anything about this?"
Also,
person?
yeah, that's it. He's like, "What?" Charlie.
Also, because it's another thing. Charlie kept his struggles away from him, so he's like, "Oh my gosh, what else is he keeping from me now?
It's true.
Is he replacing me?"
Charlie's living the double life.
He might not have gone to that place, but Michael comes in and just full force. He's Michael.
Full force, yeah.
And Michael gives Charlie words of wisdom. And this wisdom is hilarious. 16 is when everything starts to make sense. Or when nothing makes any sense anymore. I love that was the ending.
It's so true, though.
It is, but I think that this is every age.
It's true.
That's very true.
It's so good.
Everyone
It's such a
thinks,
Michael thing to say.
Yeah. And then he gives Charlie a ceramic cat.
So cute.
And it's so cute. And he says that he got it because it had the same energy as Charlie. Okay, so one, it's showing that Michael is very observant, considering I'm sure he hasn't spent much time with Charlie at this point. Which is very good that he's observant, because that's something Tory needs right now. But also, It is adorable that he did a ceramic cat, because what did we see in Tory's bedroom? A bunch of cats. And there's something else that they both think about, like cats. And I thought that was really cute.
And I love that it's a happy cat too, which is more like Charlie versus the stoic baby tiger looking cat, which would be more Tory. The more closed off. This is a happy cat.
Yeah.
Also,
it's a cat that wants to be around.
Yeah.
But isn't a maniac like an orange cat? I don't know what cat he would be.
So, Ringo, who's literally just sleeping right next to me right now. He's chilling.
Yeah.
Hey, baby. Oh, he's sleepy.
sleepy.
I love the fact that the choice of the angle of how they shot this little scene of the little figurine. It looks like the cat is looking up at Charlie from Michael's hand.
It does.
So cute. He's just like, hello. It's so freaking cute. I love it. Just the choice of angle there. I wonder if that was on purpose. I hope it was, because that is genius and it's adorable. Or it's the best accident ever. That's so funny.
I want to know what accidents happened in Heartstopper that we're fangirling about, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't notice that."
Yeah,
I just think that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, we know that some scenes were improvised, and those are hidden gems that we find, and we're like, "Oh wait, that was unscripted." What? Stuff like that. But what was not intended at all? Or what was
Yeah, that would be
what was for
interesting.
aesthetic purposes that just turned artistic? Who knows? Also, the fact that Michael says it made him sad to see this little kitty sitting all alone on a shelf. That's such a Michael Holden thing to say. First of all, also just like, is this supposed to be like Charlie being alone? Makes him sad to see Charlie alone? No, I don't know.
Or is that a projection
Or,
about Tory,
yeah.
the cat? Who's
Or is
alone?
that
But I love how like emotional Michael got when he was talking about the ceramic cat at this estate sale or wherever the hell he was. And he's just like getting emotional. And that's when Tori's like grabs him and is like, stop it.
I
we
know,
gotta
you
go."
can see him kind of
Like,
spiral.
what are you doing?
Starting to spiral a little
He
bit.
starts spiraling and she's like, oh my
Tori's
god.
like, no, come on, we're go upstairs.
Nope, enough, let's go. That's enough
I
sharing.
love Tory and Michael. They really balance each other out in that
so
aspect too. It's beautiful.
It's so funny.
So then the party moves to outside, and this is where we get a couple scenes with Queer's intent. Queer's intense, not a queer intent. Queer's intense.
Queer's
Okay.
intent.
So first up, we have Tao and Elle in a tent, and Elle. Well, Tao first asks Elle if she thinks that she's going to do the interview. And he then follows this up by encouraging her and saying how the world needs to know how talented she is. But the thing that I noticed from this is, and something that I really appreciated, this, he allowed her to tell him how she was feeling first before he added how he felt about it and like his wants, not, well, like encouraging her into doing it. So he wasn't pushing her into doing this interview. He really wanted to know what she wanted to do. And it was just supportive without being pushy.
Yeah, basically everybody that has a conversation with Elle about this interview is not pushy. It's more so like, Elle, tell us what you think and feel, not so much like, basically the way I would kind of like almost compare it to like what Tara's going through right now, and the way it's kind of like a foil where she achieves stuff and immediately the response from everybody is like, great job, aren't you going to be prefect now, aren't you going to do this, you're in like an Oxford like prep class and this and that. The way everybody like projects the next thing onto Tara and like gives her a ton of anxiety. With this, like Elle's being presented with this big opportunity, and like the conversations with Elle are very much like, how do you feel, Elle? Not like, hey, you could get even more famous. Like people aren't projecting the next level of success onto Elle. It's more so like, how are you feeling, Elle? So it's like polar opposites going on with like Tara, and we get to see like Elle being comfortable in this, whereas Tara's like stress drinking in the corner, basically.
I also love.
Yeah, it's nice to see the contrast between the two.
Yeah, exactly. They're contrasting situations.
It's also just very on brand for Tao, especially after like what we saw last episode. The whole like them having sex for the first time. He was so like on it about like, what are you comfortable with? So it's like such a pattern for him. It's still like so Tao to be like, are you comfortable with this? Is this okay? Because he's seen her out of her comfort zone before, and he's like, yeah, we don't want that. So
yeah,
I love that he's still like on.
Other little detail may or may not be intentional, but I'm choosing to say it's intentional, is that the colors on the tent behind Elle are trans pride colors, which we love to see.
That has to be intentional.
Yeah, I feel like this has to be intentional because it's like such a like a trans like positive episode, like her being confident about it. So,
but it'd be really funny if these things aren't like the fireworks behind Tory, and they're like, oh, yeah, no, we totally meant to make that the ace color. Yeah, totally.
I really,
how
if someone from production randomly watches this,
it's so
please
random.
let us know, because
I feel like
because there's
it has to be, because I think
I agree, it's too random.
I think one of the designers from season 1, during the bowling alley scene when Nick is like fully bathed in bisexual lighting, I feel like I saw an interview, like I read somewhere, though one of the designers did confirm that one was intentional. I don't know about
Yeah.
the rest of the show, and I don't know. I couldn't tell you what source I had, so I don't even know if it's true or not. But it's the internet. Who knows?
I
I
feel
don't
like
have a
there's too
pen.
many for it to be
Yeah.
random.
Honestly.
I'm gonna have to find a lighting person because you do bring up a lot of lighting, Theora. So it'll be interesting to see if like every
The
single
lighting
one
is so good
We
on
gotta
the
get
show.
like
Yeah.
a theater kid on the show who's done like lighting design, who just like knows.
Ooh, that would be fun too. Because like this too, it's not like with the tent in particular. It's not like the tent has those colors.
Mhm.
Like that's like lit to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's more intentional than just like buying a tent that has like rainbow patterns on it or
Yeah.
whatever. Like the lighting specifically is like set up for
It's like,
Elle, which
Who
is
set up these tents?
I know. I'm curious. Also, just like
good
how
question.
did they get that background? Because I'm like, it doesn't look like if it's a gobo, it's a very very complexly designed gobo because it's like all the different colors.
Yeah, I don't
So
right. Yeah,
But like these tents are like they're just not just tents either. They're very complicated like setups too. Like so, who was doing this?
Darcy.
oh, like in
Darcy?
the canon.
Could you imagine
Yeah.
Darcy's like secret talent is like, I mean, setting up tents. They're like, okay, send the lesbians first of all, and then but then like Darcy's like really good at this for some reason. Like, just got the feng shui down and stuff. It's like something Darcy's good at.
Yeah.
That's my head.
Imogen was busy with the cake.
That's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if Sahar would have a hand in any of it, unless she showed up early.
Sahar probably.
I can see Isaac maybe being good at
Yeah.
it because, like, remember Isaac's
Isaac.
little cozy corner at Christmas?
His book nook. Yeah.
That, but Isaac probably brings like a feng shui book or like interior design book, being
Right.
like, "All right, colors." They all show up early, so Charlie doesn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah,
nice.
Charlie was off this duty because it's his birthday for sure.
Anyway, I don't know, but I never thought about that. I'm like, this is
These are
First of all-
elaborate tents.
yes, very elaborate tents because they even have in the next tent that we're about to talk about with Imogen and Sahar. I think they have this like star thing
They
hanging
do.
from the top.
It's hanging in the tent.
Like, it's just there's a lot going on.
I'm pretty sure they have the pansexual colors going on in their tent too, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I think
Like,
yes,
isn't it,
they
like,
do.
Yellow, blue.
Yellow,
They do.
and
blue,
is there
and
pink?
blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
I
the
think
pink,
so.
yellow, and blue. Yeah, that's interesting. Quite interesting.
Also, why is there?
Anyway.
Also interesting that it wouldn't be the bi-colors.
I love that there's
Right, because there's no.
there are balloons in their freaking tent too. I'm like, why are there just like whole ass balloons?
Yeah.
Listen, like, who designed the tents? Yeah, and why?
It's so funny.
I feel
Maybe
like Darcy is
Imogen's
really random.
contribution.
Love that.
Imogen showed up, they were like doing these tents, and she's like, I want to help. She throws balloons in here.
Right, it also could just be that somebody was drunk and was like, "This is a good idea." That's why I think
So
Darcy.
Imogen. Oh, you know what? I could see it. Could you imagine just Imogen and Darcy trying to work on something together? I feel like it would be. Yeah, I think it would be a disaster, but I think it would be amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be wildly entertaining.
Okay, but Imogen and Sahar in this tent are awkwardly trying to like lay out a blanket. And for two people who don't talk a lot, they sure do end up in the same space quite a bit. And in this scene, it seems as if Imogen's gotten to the point where it's just her breaking point. Like all of this is just too overwhelming. She's sitting with all these emotions. Like she's not talking to Sahar from what we know now. So she has to just be like, these thoughts have to just be like going through her mind every single day, and to the point where like she can't keep denying it. Like they're not going away no matter how hard she tries.
Yeah, and I like in this scene when she's talking to Sahar, she doesn't like admit, like she has been reflecting and thinking, and her conclusion over all of it is that she doesn't know who she is, and which I think is such a true thing hard thing to admit for anybody, but like that's a very mature conclusion to get to based on everything we've seen about Imogen. So it's like, and it's a very like coming of age conclusion as well. Like she's becoming the person she was meant to be, and like she's been, as we've talked about, somebody who's been hiding from like hiding who she really is or hiding how she truly feels, like being quote closeted and that kind of stuff. So like to then be like, what is all these feelings I'm having, like these things that I've been doing, like who even am I? Like that's a scary conclusion to get to.
But also, she says that the one thing she does know is that she doesn't want to keep hurting Sahar. And that part made my heart melt. Because I love that she is realizing the harm that her actions are doing to Sahar.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to be in denial about yourself or not wanting to think about it or not care about how you feel. But when it's affecting other people, that's when it's a problem, like a big problem. Like it's a problem if you don't accept yourself too, but at least it's only affecting you. And so it's just nice to see that she is thinking about Sahar and Sahar's feelings now, which was not the case in Halloween.
Yeah, and it's also like different to like Charlie's journey where like it became very focused on like Charlie and how Charlie's doing internally and how Charlie's feeling. And we saw like through the Christmas, Christmas and New Year stuff, the way like it's impacting Nick. It's also impacting impacting Tory, and like that was never fully addressed. So it's interesting that with like Imogen, they are making the point of being like, me going through my identity crisis and my mental health stuff is impacting other people. And like, I'm acknowledging that, which is really interesting that we're doing that with the side characters more explicitly. And part of it is Imogen's like, oh, I don't want you to be mad at me or hate me or whatever. And Sahar admits that like, oh, I can never like hate you or be mad, like truly mad at you. Cause like Imogen on the flip side helped Sahar realize she was, bisexual, which like is something that was huge for Sahar. That's a whole nother identity of like, oh, who am I? I didn't know this about myself. So like, she's like, well, you kind of helped me process something so I could never hate you. I'm grateful for you and the fact that you did that for me without realizing you were doing anything. And then we also get Imogen admitting softly, very like drops her voice when she says like, I could say the same thing about you, because like here's Sahar being the catalyst for Imogen to figure out who she is. And I'm very, very proud of her for saying that out loud. Cause like, it's one thing to admit it to yourself. It's another thing to say it out loud to the person that like was the catalyst. So like that took a lot of courage for Imogen to say, Kenja's here.
Hi, pup.
Damn it, Kenja.
Okay.
All right, so we can continue. So the conclusion from this conversation that I think is important is basically where they're just like, I think we're better off as friends. And we get this cut to like, it's like them as children. And it's like, is this like they're healing their inner child? Like, I don't know why they did that. It was very weird. It's very fast. It's like baby Imogen, baby Sahar, like giggling and having fun in the tent.
Yeah, okay. I can see how it is weird. I mean, it's very out of place. So I do like your read on it that it's healing their inner child. Maybe it's kind of like they're like at a sleepover when you're little and like realizing things. Maybe this is the moment. Maybe they were I forget if we know the friendship timeline. But maybe this is like the age where maybe Sahar realized.
Yeah, because we know they were friends.
Could be.
They like stopped being friends for a while. We just don't know how old they were. So is this supposed to be like a flashback to like that time when they were like really good friends or something? Because in season 2, during the Truth or Dare scene, I think it's Sahar that says Imogen got a boyfriend and then she stopped texting me. And Imogen was like, no, you stopped texting me. And it's like,
I think so. I think this is the moment that they like. It was a time where they were like talking together, and like they both probably had an inkling about it. And Imogen, I mean, obviously they're young here though, so like they're not going to fully understand what's happening. But Imogen, like, completely like what we see her do on the show, went opposite, like overcompensated everything and kind of created the divide between the two of them. So maybe they're going back to this moment.
Yeah, starting over, maybe even just like,
which is really cute.
Yeah, like rekindling the friendship.
But the children have to go quickly away because Imogen immediately then asks if they can get crazy drunk now. because it's Imogen. And Sahar pulls out a bottle of wine, and she says, "'Cause it's your drink of choice." And it's just adorable. But then I didn't catch it when we were watching it the first time, and the subtitles helped me. Imogen says, "Is this sustainable? I'm trying to do my bit."
Yeah.
And then Sahar's the line delivery of this line when Sahar says, "Just drink it, Imogen."
That was so
And
funny.
that gets up and leaves the tent. It's perfect. I love it so much. This is one of my favorite scenes. I love Sahar and Imogen so much. I want more of them. I want more of everybody, but I want more of them because we didn't get as much as them because they haven't been big characters since the beginning, like everybody else has.
Well, so
it's just very nice to see the stories.
Caitlin, you want to know a really cute detail about these two? How does Sahar know that Imogen loves wine? Because at New Year's Eve, she was drinking champagne. At Halloween, she was drinking tequila. How does Sahar know that Imogen loves wine? Let's think about that. Like, she's paying attention. This girl's paying attention.
Imogen does say things a lot, though. So Imogen was probably going off about wine one day. But yeah, no. Sahar definitely does pay attention and files things away when Imogen
Girl
talks.
remembered. She cares.
Which is why she gets annoyed sometimes, because she's like, I have to file this away again.
Yeah.
It's true. But I do like that they're like, we're better off as friends. So personally, I like this avenue for them because for me, I think this would be a very Alice message to say, which is that not every relationship in your life needs to be romantic, including queer ones. Because like the bulk of like queer media that exists is all about romance. And like it is okay to not be romantically entangled with your first queer crush. Because that's basically what they were both admitting to each other. You were my first queer crush is the message here. But like, and that contradicts so much queer media where it's like your first queer crush is the one you end up with and that's it. And it's like, that is not the reality the vast majority of the time. And it is okay to just like be friends with that person. Like you don't need to like marry them. The way like Nick's first queer crush is Charlie. And that's basically the premise of Heartstopper, that Nick ends up with Charlie and that's his first queer, like not like
that's fair.
Celebrity awakening, like queer awakening kind of thing, but like your first real life queer crush is the person you end up with. That happens so much in media. And it's like, it's okay to not end up with that person. It's not the end of the world. It's okay to learn something from them and just be friends with them. That is totally fine.
It's also kind of interesting because you know how like for straight people, like guys and girls can't be just friends. Like there's that thing going on. And now it's kind of like a play on, well, if two people are, I guess, bi, like they have to be together or like they can actually be friends. So it's kind of like the playing on that thing. I don't know if that made sense. It made sense in my head. I don't think I fully got the words out, but it's all right.
Basically, just because you have two queer people with the same sexual preference in a room together doesn't mean they have to be romantically involved with each other. You can also just be friends.
Which is what a lot of media does, because we'll have two queer people in a show, only two, and then those two will be together.
Right.
So I get that, and that is very much needed and makes a lot of sense, especially for Heartstopper. So that's great. I just love them so much, and I just really want them together, just personally, and that's just my own issue, because I know that would be good for everybody if they weren't. But I just love them. And because like I can also see that at the end it was kind of weird because they were like admitting that they both like realized that, and like they didn't actually say that they had feelings for each other. They just realized something about themselves. So that's another thing. But I could see that Sahar was like maybe just kind of brushing it off. Maybe I wouldn't say she was embarrassed, but maybe just like trying not to make it a big deal and pretending like she didn't want them to be together. And then like Imogen could have like just gone along with it and was like, oh yeah, but like secretly they still want to be together. And like they'll figure that out in 20 years.
I mean, slow burn romance is a thing. It could be the best best friends to frenemies to best friends to lovers, slow burn romance ever.
Does it count if they have like other relationships in between?
Yeah.
Like it, and it
I
wouldn't.
mean, yeah, it's still a possibility for sure.
The point is that
I love
the feelings
them.
slowly start to fester. They start to build, they start to fester. They don't always have to express the romance immediately. That's kind of the thing about slow burn, is it takes forever for the actual expression of feelings to happen.
All right, I think I'm growing during this conversation right now. I mean, I would still love them to be together, but I think it could also be very fun to see them be like wing women for each other and like go out, and then like Imogen starts bringing up, "Oh yeah, we both made each other realize that we were bi," and Sahar's like, "Stop telling people that."
Oh my god, what if they turned into like the stereotypical lesbian exes, where it's like they're still best friends and they like go to each other's weddings and everything?
Yeah, totally. Like I can definitely see
they're literally
that.
the maids of honor in each other's weddings. That'd be so sweet.
I just want to see more of them.
I can see them just being best friends once they get past it, and I think that's okay. Like that's real life too.
All right. So this next part, the party has basically moved fully to the backyard in the sense of the actual party. There is music, there is dancing, there is more booze, there is absolute chaos in the best way. And I thought it was a really cute little thing. So you hear the song Good For You by Olivia Rodrigo at some point playing during the scene, and I thought that was really a cute little detail because, fun fact, Joe is actually buddies with Olivia Rodrigo IRL in real life. So I think that's really cute. So I wonder if he like
that song.
Did he personally call Olivia and be like, hey, can I have your song in our show for my character's birthday party? I know it's not how it works.
That'd be interesting. No, but like the music supervisors could have been like, "Oh, we have this idea," or something like that, and then like probably went through that way.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Got some kind of fair use rights or something like that.
But that song grew on me. In the beginning, I wasn't too sure.
I can't get over the fact that it's the same thing as Paramore.
Oh. Which one? I don't know Paramore, really.
You only know the one song that was on Glee.
Which one was it?
Only Exception was
the one that was
on Glee.
No, but I knew that one before Glee. I knew that one. It was on the radio a lot.
Yeah, I forget that. I can't think of the title of the Paramore song, but it's like literally the same. The music is exactly the same.
Interesting. Maybe I did hear it because it sounded familiar to me.
I'm trying to think of every Paramore
That's a whole nother conversation we could have, but probably not on camera. So
I was like, I know only few Paramore songs, so I'm just like,
Misery Business. That's the song. I just couldn't think of the title.
Gotcha.
It's the exact same. Like the music is exactly the same. So when I hear the song, my brain switches to Paramore because it's the same.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, what the
wow.
hell?
Okay, well, we talk about that another time.
Anyway,
I'm curious.
So, yeah, I mean, music choice in the show is pretty great. Sometimes they do like obviously the songs that are kind of on theme for the actual scene, and sometimes they just throw in some songs that it's like, hey, we actually know these people personally, and it's a really cute thing that we get to honor their work, especially when we have songs that are literally from like Wasia Project, which is Will and his sister Olivia's band. If you don't know, Will is the actor who plays Tao. He and his sister have a band, and they're amazing. And Olivia's like Tao. Will is a beautiful musician, a beautiful pianist, and Olivia, beautiful voice. Such a gorgeous voice she has. So, shout out to them.
Olivia Rodrigo is Will's sister?
Is it Olivia or Olive? She go by Olive. I think she goes by Olivia. Yeah, no, it's not the same person, but no, also very talented singer. So, speaking of Tao, it's really cute. I think I accidentally went back to this part where Tao is getting out the camera and asking about Elle's documentary. So, Charlie and friends, basically, during this next scene, they get pretty drunk. I mean, as teenagers do. So it's really sweet to see Charlie getting to just laugh freely with his friends. Like, yes, it is under the influence of alcohol, but it is in his safe place with his buddies. Charlie just wants to feel like a normal teenager. That's all he's wanted to feel since he got out of inpatient. And I wonder if this is one of the first times he's really just like what he said before, like, is he just feeling like he's back to his life now? Like, he's able to be like as normal as he can be, in the situation. But where he
Yeah, and with like the mental health stuff, like it's peaks and valleys. It's not a straight line to recovery. So I wonder if this is like the best day like he's had in a really long time, like a really good day.
Yeah.
It seems like it from all the shots we get of him in this party. So that's perfect for his birthday. I'm very happy he got to have that for his, because like 16 is like a kind of a big deal, like age to turn. So I'm glad he got that.
I'm just worried about him later this day. Because, like, I know this feeling when you're finally having a great day, at the end of the day, when everyone's gone and all of it wears off, it's like such a crash that I hope. I mean, we don't see what.
I don't think he has that, but yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it probably helps that he's not alone at the end, too.
He's not alone.
He's with Nick. And he has something to look forward to the next day, so maybe that helps, too. Having something to look forward to definitely really makes a difference. Yeah. In this moment, when all the gang is dancing around and partying, there's this really cute moment where Michael's still here. Michael is just like hanging out with Tory, and they look at each other and they clink their glasses. So the question is, we know what Tory's probably drinking. What is Michael's drink of choice? Is he talking about in solitaire? I don't remember.
I don't think he did.
Choice?
Is she getting him hooked on Diet Lemonade?
Possibly.
He would drink it in solidarity.
Yeah.
In solitarity.
Solitarians.
I need to leave. I need to leave. Goodbye.
It was right there. I couldn't not do it.
That was too good. I can't go on. It was so good. Yeah. It's just.
But that's a really good question. I don't see him drinking alcohol. So like,
yeah.
No.
Yeah. What is he drinking?
No, I literally would see him drinking this because of Tory.
He also has a straw too. He also is drinking out of a straw, just like her. So yeah, I can
see Tory not giving him a choice and just handing it to him, and him be like, "All right,
okay."
Yeah, she doesn't even ask, "Can I get you a drink?" She just gets him a Diet Lemonade. She's like, "Here you go." He's like, "Okay, cool."
Very Michael.
I love them. Oh my god, I need every single character to have their own spinoff.
Literally. Yeah. So
just keep it going forever.
Yeah. So after a while, there's like this point where they've kind of like wound down a little bit. They're like, the music's probably still going in the background, like very quietly. They're not dancing anymore. Everybody's probably a little bit tired, and they're all just kind of hanging out at this point. And there's a group of them. I think it's Nick, Imogen, Sahar, Darcy, and Tara all start talking about university plans. And Darcy, we hear mentions talking about taking a gap year, which we know from the comics that they do end up taking a gap year eventually. And Tara is over here just like, this is kind of where her pressure of being like the best at everything, about being the top student, about everything, just kind of comes to a head because she begins to have a panic attack. And it's simulated with this fuzz, this shadow of fuzz that just like starts to just engulf her, and basically like starts to suffocate her to the point that breathing is hard for her. She has to literally like get up and bolt. She runs. She gets out of that space. I do want to say, like, she does at one point say, "Guys, can we stop talking about university stuff?" And it seems like literally no one hears her when she says it. Like
Yeah.
Darcy might.
No, they just keep talking. Yeah.
Darcy might have like
Oh,
heard
poor
it, but
girl.
Darcy is like kind of invested in the conversation. I feel like Darcy's the only one that would
Yeah.
have actually heard it, honestly. Just because they probably, you know, listened to their girlfriend. But yeah, as soon as Tara gets up, Darcy's immediately on it. But first of all, immediately is just like, what's going on? And Tara basically rushes out, goes into the house, trying to find like some escape, trying to just get out of this little space and just breathe. And Charlie, who is drunk, clocks her coming in, and he comes over like he just immediately, like, his brain just focuses on her, and he goes over and he's like, okay, you're having a panic attack here. He basically talks through it with her and demonstrates one of the breathing exercises that Jeff had given him in his therapy sessions. Has her do the inhale, exhale, just to keep herself afloat, which it obviously does. It does like a really great deal for her. It really helps. I appreciate the fact that he even says like, we're in my house, we've had some drinks. Like he talks her through what has happened tonight, like where they are, what's going on, just to kind of ground her and put her, like, bring her back to the real, like what's really happening in front of her. And it's very well done, I think.
Yeah, I really love that this is also a one-on-one with Charlie and Tara, because in the scene, like, you see Nick hovering in the background over like Charlie's shoulder, and he's like in the frame out of focus. So he's like there for support, but like Nick doesn't jump in and try to help Tara too. He kind of just like sits back and lets Charlie take control of the situation, which is really interesting because Nick has been framed as like the savior and like, you know, savior character archetype or whatever throughout the show. And so it's interesting that he's like staying in the background while Charlie adopts the role, because this is where Charlie's an expert really of the group and knows how to really help Tara through this. So I like that Nick doesn't jump in. He just like lets Charlie do that. I think that's pretty significant.
Knows that like anything he did would not be helpful because he doesn't know how to handle it. He didn't know how to handle it with Charlie, and Charlie had to figure it out through his own journey. I also found it interesting that no one else followed her, and that they all allowed her to have this moment alone without everybody crowding her, which would make things 100 times worse in this moment. But I just found that very interesting considering how like close the group is. Like, did they mean to like give her a time limit? I'm surprised no one else followed.
Like Darcy didn't even immediately follow.
Yeah,
which is the weird part.
Really, the weird part. I'm like, why didn't Darcy at least come? And like maybe Darcy and Nick be together.
Right, because it takes a while for like Charlie to get her to calm down. So like it took Darcy a while to be like, maybe I should check on her, you know? Which is weird. But like the thing is, like, we've keep clocking glimpses of Tara's like mental struggles with all the stress that she's under throughout the season, but nobody else seems to notice that she's stressed out. So like for all the closeness of this group, it does go to show you that like when people are struggling and they don't want you to know about it, they're not going to let you know about it. Like Charlie said it at one point when, I don't remember, he was apologizing or like his mental health stuff was coming out, and he said to somebody, he was like, well, I was really good at hiding it. Like people are good at hiding stuff. So like, while like we saw little glimpses, but Tara's been mostly like putting a fake smile on and just like going through the motions. And like, I don't think she's really shared her stress with Darcy, even when they were living together. And so like, Tara's just very good at hiding it. And so like here, she can't hide it anymore because it's like eating her up from the inside out. So, but yeah, it is not one
ignore warning.
That's weird behavior from Tara, like, you know.
Yeah. The only thing from like a writer standpoint I could really see that would really make sense why Darcy didn't immediately follow is like Tara bolts off and Darcy immediately goes, what did you say? Wait, was it something one of you guys said or something like that? Like trying to like break down why Tara literally just ran off, because obviously everybody's kind of dumbstruck by that. So is it just like, is she okay? Yeah. Wait, what happened?
I find it weird that Darcy didn't immediately follow, but this whole thing is just because they're all at this place now where they are talking about university. there's so much going on in your last year of school. I mean, every year, but there's so many decisions and things to talk about that you really are absorbed in yourself. Like we talked about before, they are all in the focus on yourself stage right now. They're not focusing on like developing relationships around you. So it's a lot easier to just not notice or like see it, but like not really have it register to the
Also, they've
point
been
where
drinking.
yeah, that too.
So there's that.
Yeah. Darcy's like, I've been drinking. I'm not going to be helpful right now.
Or like they're just not noticing because they're drunk, you know?
Yeah.
I think maybe
Yeah, but it's a very interesting situation.
Darcy also, I feel like lately, like probably has been on like some kind of high, just because there is like this high that you get when you kind of start to understand yourself a little bit better, like them figuring out now.
Yeah.
Obviously, they haven't like opened up to Tara yet about being non-binary, but they are coming into that understanding of themselves. They're probably riding a little bit of a high, just like feeling so happy, like they finally have this part of themselves figured out. Because it is such a rush, or it can be a rush. It can be different for different people, obviously, but it can be like such a weight off your chest. Just feeling like,
and Darcy's been dealing with these struggles for years now with their parents, and now with them living at Grand's, they can finally relax and breathe. And I think they also might be just trying to hold on to that as much as possible, the good times, that they are overlooking Tara's struggles, because it has been all about Darcy. So, I mean, that's just something that a couple of characters we see this season have to start learning, that it is a give and take. Even if you want the good times to stay, you can't ignore the fact that your partner is struggling. If you ignore it, it's going to get worse, not better.
Yeah. Plus, I bet that there's probably a certain level of Darcy comparing themselves to Tara, like specifically like with their grades, with university stuff, like being Tara being like all these things about being head, being prefect, and then also being like in the orchestra and everything. Obviously, Darcy's also in the orchestra, but Darcy, like, we see like earlier in the season, like they literally throw their report cards away. So it's like there's got to be like this level of, they assume that Tara has it all together because Tara is doing all the successful stuff. So maybe they just have no idea. But also Tara hasn't opened up about it because, again, doesn't want to put that on anybody else. So yeah, I bet Darcy probably is just in their own head about it too. Just like, my girlfriend is amazing and I'm over here, you know, not even going to university or whatever they're dealing with at the same time as figuring out their gender identity. So yeah.
There is a lot going on.
Yeah.
For every single person.
Yeah. Yeah. So when Darcy does come rush in to check on their girlfriend, see how she's doing, Tara does somewhat admit that there's just a lot of pressure, that she's just kind of getting overwhelmed by all of it. And she even, I think it's really sweet that she does acknowledge that Charlie has just helped her in this moment. And so when Charlie gets up, Nick says, that was amazing, for helping Tara. And Charlie's immediate response is just, I am so drunk right now.
I love that was his response. Like, that was so random. He's like, I'm glad I did it. I'm just so drunk.
Dude, that happens though.
It's also second nature to him now, though, to like deal with these things, which is amazing to see how like ingrained it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really funny, Charlie. It's so relatable though. We're like, I don't know how I just did that. I was out of it.
Yeah, he's like, I'm so drunk right now. Yeah, Charlie, we know. Believe me, especially in this next scene. We know.
Oh yeah. We know. So speaking of drunk Charlie, next we shoot on over to the kitchen where Nick and Charlie have a moment alone. And Nick, being protective boyfriend, is trying to get a very drunk Charlie to hydrate for Lesbian Jesus. And the birthday boy tells Nick, he just drunk Charlie starts being drunk and he's like, I like you so much, please don't leave me. It's just like drunken confessions at the sink basically. And it's like, okay, so it's like a very sweet sentiment to like as Nick to hear all this, but I think these kinds of comments that coming from Charlie like inadvertently put pressure on Nick when it comes to like university, because remember we were just talking about university and we know Nick's like said, well, I'm gonna try to stay close to home, and like home is Charlie, so like this is more pressure like to hear these confessions from Charlie to be like, please don't ever leave me, and Nick's like about to go to university, so like yeah, so that's gonna be burrowed in his brain. Hi, little Ringo's face. I can see his
If
face.
you're listening, Ringo's face has made a presence on the camera.
There he is.
Look at this Ringo man.
Anyway.
Hello.
He's a
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, the drunken flirting continues, and like Charlie basically pulls Nick like in like close to him, and they have this very honest and very flirty conversation about taking things further in their relationship. And Charlie admits that he's ready to have sex with Nick, and Nick, you know, admits like, hey, a lot has happened since Paris, like the last time we talked about this, and he's like at a place where he is also ready to do that. And I think, and I kudos to Joe and Kit, because the acting here was beyond perfect, because the way they had this conversation, because it's very like tentative and shy and sweet, and it felt realistic for like these two characters like to have this conversation. And I love the way they chose to like dip their voices into whispering when they're talking about this, like even though they're completely alone and nobody's anywhere near them, because it makes it feel like an extremely intimate moment between the two of them, because it is. So I like the way they like executed this. I thought it was perfect for like teenage first love, first time kind of conversation. And then Charlie's like, you want to go to my room and do stuff? And Nick's like, listen, you're super drunk. We're not doing this for the first time or ever when you're super drunk and cannot consent to things. So good job, Nick. But
good job, Heartstopper.
Yeah, good job, Heartstopper. But from Charlie's point of view, I see where he's coming from to be like, let's do it now, because he, you know, he's not sober, meaning he's not in his head about this, and has more like courage to like go through with this, because when he's sober, he starts to have the body dysmorphia, and he starts to like tell Nick about it. Because again, this is a conversation they've never had about the body dysmorphia. So as he's trying to have this conversation, said drunkenness starts to emerge in the form of vomit. So he's like, I need to get out of here right now and throw up. So like they cut the conversation short, and Nick just like rushes into the bathroom before he throws up on Nick, which would have been terrible.
Another reason why they're not doing anything right now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so two things I wonder is like, so hypothetically, if Charlie had not started feeling sick, would he have actually finished that sentence? And second of all, had Charlie never had this moment of being drunk and being able to have the liquid courage, how would this conversation have ever been brought up? That's my curiosity.
Yeah.
Is like, I could see it probably being like much further down the line, like a couple weeks, maybe even a month before they actually even mention it. Or would Nick have been the one to mention it? Or do we think maybe Charlie would have eventually gotten the courage with the courage or the encouragement from his friends and everything? I don't know. I've been very curious about that. How that would have all unfolded.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good question. Because like Charlie was kind of talking about the sex stuff with his friends, but like even with the friends, he doesn't talk about the body dysmorphia. So yeah, I feel like it would have taken longer for him without the liquid courage to like admit this to Nick. And I feel like Charlie would be the one that has to broach this topic, because like traditionally with their relationship, it has been Charlie has been the one that brings it up, not Nick. So yeah, I feel like it would have to like organically come up, which would have been a lot harder. Yeah, I agree with that. Because evidence being, let's shoot over to the next morning. So Nick and Charlie like wake up together in the tent, and Nick asks Charlie, hey, do you remember anything from last night? Because you're pretty drunk. And Charlie goes on like a hungover trip down memory lane until he remembers the conversation from the kitchen and then gets embarrassed. So that's why I think that like organically this would have been a lot harder without the alcohol for him to like say anything. Because even now, he already said it. He has a hard time talking about it now, like when he's sober. So but Nick's like, hey, I'm glad you brought it up. So like, it's something that needed to be said between the two of them, but it's very hard to have these conversations. And then like, they're always like, am I pressuring the other one, this and that? So like, yeah, I agree with you. I think this would have taken much longer to like be a conversation without this. But they, again, don't get to finish the conversation because the writers are evil. And so like Tory and Michael then opened the tent immediately. And they're like, hey, mom and dad are coming in 30 minutes. And they're like, also, Tory, you have to get to the Jack Maddox event today. And then Michael, ever the helpful lad that he is like, I'll make everybody toast because you look like you need toast. And like, I love how precious he is. And he's just like, I want to help toast. I'll make toast.
But it's so also cute. Like, has he been over a bit and saw that Charlie like likes toast? Because in the beginning we saw that is something that he would eat when he was having these thoughts.
Yeah,
and like, that's something that he could still get down. So like, I just found it that's pretty interesting. Michael's very observant. I love Michael.
He's so cute.
I want more Michael and Tory. Michael. We need more Tory.
I just want to appreciate Tory, or not Tory. Michael, he acts like such a dad in this scene, which is so funny to me. He literally opens the tent and goes, morning campers. Like,
oh my god, that's right, he does do that. He is like a dad. Oh my god, he has dad energy, you're right.
He's like, oh,
never put that together.
Yeah, he's like, you look like you could use some eggs on toast. I'm like, god, he sounds like such dad energy already, and I'm like, oh my god.
That's so true. I love that so much.
So, yeah, the fact that, first of all, Tory immediately, like, Charlie is like, did he stay over? Tory's like, yeah, I'm allowed to have friends over too. First of all, Tory is wearing the sweater that Michael wore to the party last night.
He sure is.
Which I think, if I remember right, in Solitaire, there's a point where she does. Maybe?
I think so.
So my question is, could this be the night that is canon to the show when Michael would have come over and they watched Disney movies?
I think yes. I think this was their Beauty and the Beast night.
Let's say, is this that scene?
That's really cute. I want to see it though.
I know. I wanted to see it.
We've been robbed.
We've been robbed. I love that scene. But I agree with that. Ugh. Okay. So then he asks, so to continue with this Charlie conversation. So after he asks, did he stay over? Then Charlie's like, starts teasing Tory and he's like, friends, huh? And then Tory gets really pissed off and storms away. Like, she doesn't say anything. And okay, like, I understand that we do, since we read Solitaire, we know that Tory's going through some stuff right now. And so I kind of feel bad for Tory that she's getting teased right when she's like making a friendship that's important to her or whatever it is. So like she kind of gets embarrassed. But from Charlie's point of view, like I'm sure he's been dying to like tease Tory about anything. And so he finally can like tease her about her love life. And he's like, finally, you've been teasing me. Like, so it's one of those like perfect sibling things where one of them's annoyed by the other one. And the other one's like, finally, I have something to tease you about. And it's not malicious, but like, it's peak sibling relationship stuff.
I know that this is from Charlie's point of view. That's why you don't really see that Tory's having issues. So, like, everybody really needs to read Solitaire because it just gives you so much a better understanding of what is happening this season that is completely lost. Like, you're just like, who is this random dude who shows up? Who's in a few scenes? But there's so much to them, and it's adorable, and I love it. So if you haven't yet, go read Solitaire.
So good.
Just saying. All right. Anything about Tory and Michael before we head over to something that pisses me off, and
Oh
I'm
my
sure it pisses
God.
you off as well.
Seriously.
Um,
Bye, Michael and Tory.
Can't stress enough that Tory and Michael need their own show, their own movie,
Agreed.
anything, or even just anything.
Yes.
I think I said this last episode. I would love to see another thing with Derek and Jenny together. Just
They're
regardless
great.
if it's obviously I'd love it if it was Michael and Tori, but regardless.
As long as it's a comedy. I really want a comedy.
As long as it's them giving each other shit or fighting crime together. If it was like a yes.
Yes. Oh my God. Could you imagine if they did like a psychic and a cop and Michael's the psychic? That'd be
Oh my
amazing.
God. Basically,
He's the psychic? That'd be so funny.
it would basically just be a Sprawlden fan fiction come to life, but like
Yes! I want it.
so what? That sounds amazing.
I was trying to think, do I want a spinoff of Tory and Michael or Imogen and Sahar more? And I think I'm actually leaning towards Tory and Michael.
Me too.
Because I think they could do some more with like representation in that show. And it would be very interesting. Also, the dynamic's great.
Their dynamic
I mean, I do love Imogen and Sahar, but I think there's some really great things we could explore because we know more right now about them too.
I would love,
but you know what?
Oh, sorry.
Both.
Yeah, I would love if Sahar got the Aled last treatment. For those who haven't read the comics, Aled is the best friend of Charlie that Isaac kind of fills in the spot for in the show. Alice like had actual artistic decisions that she made with not having Aled in the show, because Aled has like his whole own story. I would love for Sahar to get the same treatment where she gets her own novel, basically, because she's got so much depth to her. I'd love if Alice eventually wanted to write a Sahar novel. The way that she did with Alice, or Aled.
I was
I would eat that shit.
Can we have a novel for each character? Like, Alice, you can keep going.
Yeah.
If you really want to. Like, Heartstopper itself can stop, but, like, give each character their own, like, dedicated story, and then continue writing Tori's because she deserves better right now.
Yeah, Tori gets a whole series.
Yes. That's just needed. Okay, but we've been stalling. We need to go to the scene where it's not really great for the characters involved. But before we get to even that part, we're going to go to Elle arriving at Sonic's radio station, and with Tao and her parents tagging along. And I love that Tao, of course, tags along because he has to. He is filming the Great Elle documentary. So he's obligated to be there whether he wants to or not, but he 1,000% wants to. And Elle immediately gets separated from her support because they said that Tao and her parents need to stay out here while she goes in for the interview. And like, I get that for sound-wise. At least there is a place that Tao and the parents can watch, which, because it'd be terrible if they were fully separated. Oh my God, could you imagine that? But at least she gets to see them and have that support from afar.
She's a minor, though. Could they legally do that? I don't even know.
I don't. I think they have to at least be able to see them because
I don't know if they could sign like a consent waiver or some shit, like to let her do it without them watching.
probably.
I don't know what the legality is.
I think she's old enough where if her parents didn't even have to be there, I think they probably could have signed something.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
I was like, I don't know the law.
But I think with minors,
I don't know the laws in the UK, but it's like obviously like
I don't know the UK laws.
Parents would have to in the US. The parents would have to be the ones to sign the waiver. I know that.
Correct. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, funny you bring up UK laws. We'll get there in a little bit.
I'm scared, Caitlin. I'm scared.
Yes, always be scared.
With Caitlin, yes. But first, we have to get into the interview. And the interview starts out with a couple brief, basic questions. And the interviewer, if you notice, doesn't actually seem interested in the answers to this. Like, she's bringing over the paper, probably with questions, looking around, not fully focused on Elle. Until the interviewer starts saying, trans identities are the hot topic of the moment. And first of all, this line is so insulting because it not only does she now know that Elle know that she was brought here to talk about being trans, not her art, but this is a way that they're basically saying that she only matters right now because it's good for ratings. Like, she's a hot topic. That's the only reason why she's here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the interviewer continues to dig her own grave if we didn't hate her enough after else, because so this whole thing is going on, and the interview is basically trying to get her to talk about like the current topics of what's happening in the world with people basically being transphobic. And Elle says, trans people aren't a debate. We are human beings. First of all, yes, girl. Do we need to pause for a dog or? Okay.
She's trying to break it really hard.
This interview really makes me mad.
That's why I panned over to Ringo. I'm just like, here, during the midst of this conversation, have a cute sleeping cat.
Okay, you chose this. Go chew your bone in the corner.
Oh my god, it almost went up my nose. You chose this, dog. You're forced here. Luckily, mine has calmed down. I'm actually quite surprised.
Julie has the vacuum going. Are you scared of the vacuum? Oh, Julie's not here. You have your bad girl collar on. That explains it. Okay. All right. Yeah, you can hang out in here. That's okay.
She was like, I'm not being alone.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be alone. Okay. Well, you can hang out in here. Okay. That's fine. Gosh, you don't want to be alone. It's okay. Now go lay down.
I want to just smooch his little head, but I know he would hate it.
Yeah. She's being more persistent than normal, so like something's wrong. Okay. I got you. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so first of all, yes, girl. Like, the lines that Elle has here, it's just amazing. It's so powerful because people don't realize that they're talking about humans, not just a concept. Like, these are people whose lives you're directly affecting by saying these things, by making these laws, by having these debates that really shouldn't be debates. It's just people. It's just okay. Another time. Anyway, the interviewer's response to this is, well, I mean, our speaker last week believed that the presence of gender-neutral bathrooms will increase cases of sexual assault against women. I'm very interested to get your thoughts about that. I'm sorry. What does this have to do with art?
It doesn't. What they're doing is they're trying to do the both sides of the issue media thing, which, like, in America, there's some kind of law. I forget what it is. Basically, where like news has to do that, they have to show both sides of an issue, even when like the other side is completely ridiculous. So like they're trying to be like, hey, we had the guests talk about the other side of this issue, now it's your turn.
Yeah, journal.
But like the fact that they didn't like
tell her
Elle for any of these questions is like gotcha journalism, which is really gross, especially a minor. But like that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to be like, hey, give us your side of this thing we talked about with somebody else. Like,
but these are the worst interviews, and unfortunately that is what happens to people.
Yeah,
which is
totally.
why, I mean, I know people don't see this, but when we do interviews, I'm like, you have control, because really the person being interviewed should have control over what's being put out there.
Yep. But I mean, ridiculous. Like, news organizations, they're profit driven. So like what's going to get more, like, rage bait clicks are like a thing. So like, yeah.
Anyway. It's annoying, but
it's very annoying.
Throughout the interview, we cut to Elle and just her reactions to everything that's happening and everything that this interviewer is saying to her. And we get this slow zoom in to like closer to her face. And I was thinking about like why they chose to just like slowly zoom in every single time we go to her. And I think it's meant to make it feel like she is suffocating in this interview in this room and feeling trapped. Like
Yeah.
she's not locked in there, but you're in a room with one other person. You feel trapped when you're supposed to be. I don't know if the interview's live or not, because that would be even worse if this is happening live.
I think
And
so.
usually
Yeah,
it
good
is
question.
with radio
Yeah.
shows, which is terrible and even worse for her. So I can totally understand her being like, well, can I leave? Like, is that even allowed? And we also get shots of her through Tal's camera. And it's most of the time it's after we see the support system, which like she looks to her support system behind the glass, and then we cut to footage of her through Tal's camera. And it's basically showing that she's being treated as entertainment and not a person.
Yeah.
Like she's just there for show. She's a person on a screen, person, just she's a voice, but there's no human element attached to her right now.
In modern politics, trans people have become a scapegoat. Like, we learn about that in school, right? I always remember learning about that word for the first time in like history class, at least in America, and they're like, who is the scapegoat in World War II? And you're like, the Jews. They blame the Jews for everything. Now that's just trans people. They're just politicians use trans people to rile people up to get them to vote for shit. And like, they've become the scapegoat group. And it's really sad to see this through, first of all, through Elle's point of view, as the person who's like, I just came here to talk about art, and you're trying to like get me to talk about politics as a minor. And then Tao, like, who's just so proud of his girlfriend to like, and he's like, I came here to film this, and we're all here. And it's just like this, he's watching her shrink also through the camera and like become small. And like, to him, like, Elle's this big, bright, beautiful presence, and to like see that diminish, like, is just heartbreaking. It's just
especially
very
when
hard
he
to watch.
uplifts her at every chance he can get.
Correct. Exactly.
And he can't even get to her right now.
That's the other thing.
And Elle is visibly uncomfortable right now. And like tells the person, says that the person last week must have been transphobic. Because yes. And the interview's like, yeah, I know it's a heavy topic. We can just move on to something else. Okay, so let's move on to art. No, we don't do that.
Can I just
No, let's talk about
just sort of say like how dismissive that the way she said that was. Almost like such a typical adult trying to talk to a teenager who is like trying to say something genuine. Just like, oh, you're a teenager, you don't know any better. It was so dismissive. Like that, I think that's what
like
set me off, was how dismissive it was.
Like it's too advanced of a conversation for you to have.
It's a heavy
Then
subject.
why are you asking this teenager these questions then?
Yeah, it's a heavy subject. You're getting emotional, so we can't have this conversation anymore, kind of thing, is what it sounds like. It's like,
yeah. Gross.
Right, Ringo? Right?
Yeah.
Ringo agrees.
Yeah, Ringo.
Ringo agrees.
Yeah,
Ringo's pissed.
Ringo's digging his claws into my shoulder, so he agrees.
I saw Ringo start trying to attack you there.
I'm like, what do you want? He wants attention so bad.
So does this interviewer.
Yeah.
So the next topic that she tries to ask Elle about is schools being required to basically out students to their parents. Which, again, we're not here to talk about that right now, but again, is another terrible issue, but also not something that Elle should be here to be talking about. And Elle immediately excuses herself and was just like, I need to get out of here, which rightfully so. I am surprised she lasted that long. Like, it has to be because she felt trapped there. And the interviewer has the nerve to say, I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm like, ma'am, you clearly did. And you are saying it's her fault by not taking responsibility for what you said. Because, like, you can visibly see that you made her uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, no part, like, her face immediately fell. Like, the first sentence in. Okay, so now we're gonna have to get into the big thing that needs to be addressed, and Theora's already brought it up because it's a thing that Theora's been ranting since we first saw this episode. Elle is a minor. And luckily, her parents were there with her. But they weren't even able to protect her. Like, they're able to fight the station. Like, you see the mom fighting in the audio engineer section while Elle is in this interview. And she is fighting. She's like, you told us she was going to be here to talk about art. What is happening? This is not right. And like, kudos for mom for immediately fighting, not being like, I don't know. I know some parents might be like, oh, we'll just move on. It's fine. But no, like this is not okay. And I'm glad that Elle has so many people in her corner that are uplifting her and helping her, like, not overcome, but just like stay confident in who she is and not let these people get her down, because what these people are doing are terrible. And even Tao is like, do we go in there? What do we do? How do we stop this? And I think he would 1,000% run into a burning building for her. Like, anything. If she is in trouble, he is getting there.
Yeah, this interview is predatory. Like, very predatory.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, me being me, I did some research. So, there are long guidelines in the UK that govern the interviewing of minors to ensure that they are protected. Mm-hmm. Because I like facts, and I wanted to know like what the actual thing was, like what they're obligated to do. So, legally, the Children Act of 1989 places a duty on parents and guardians to safeguard children, meaning like their consent is necessary for minors to participate in interviews. We've already talked about that. It means that they need to clearly explain the purpose of the interview, how the recording will be used, and any potential public exposure to the parents so they can consent properly. They need to know what's actually happening. And ethically, like legally, minors don't have to consent to this interview, just their parents. Ethically, it's good to have the minors consent, which we'll get into in a second. So the other part, like Section 17 of this Children Act, requires that even the organizations promote the welfare of the children. Section 47 mandates that investigations are done if there is suspicion that there is harm. So this is to ensure like the interview does not place a child in a vulnerable position, such as discussing topics that could distress them without appropriate support. And it takes steps to protect the child from exploitation. So basically what we saw. And then we have something called the Ofcom's Broadcasting Code. And this is UK's communications regulator enforces the Broadcasting Code, which outlines standards for television and radio broadcasts. So Section 1 is all about protecting minors in broadcasting, so whether it be TV shows or radio. And Rule 1.28 requires broadcasters to exercise due care over the welfare and dignity of individuals under 18. And this applies even if the parents have given consent. Like, the minors have to be thought of first. There's a lot going on here. Rule 1.29 prohibits causing unnecessary distress or anxiety to minors due to their involvement in the program or content. So basically, the interview topics must be suitable for minors' age and maturity. Elle's mature, but she's still a minor and was not told about this. And again, this radio production should not have placed her in a situation where she was feeling distress and visibly. It's not like they didn't realize it. So basically, just long story short, they were required to make sure that both parties understood the purpose of the interview, what was going to be asked. And for Elle's side, they thought they did. They thought it was just about art. And this was definitely non-compliance on the radio broadcast point of view part. Okay, so if they fail to adhere to these requirements, there's a couple things that could happen. There's investigations, there could be fines. Basically, the big thing that happens with these like allegations, like when there is an investigation, it damages the station's reputation, which I feel like is definitely not enough, especially with cases like this. Like the reputation, it's going to be there for like a couple weeks and then it blows over and people forget because that's just what happens. So if it's like really bad, there could be legal action and they can get their like license or ability to broadcast taken away from them. But from the little bit of research I did, it doesn't seem like the cases that have especially involved minors, it was most likely just like a slap on the wrist, like reputation damaged. And that's definitely not enough. But there are guidelines out there, they just did not follow them. So that is my roundup of UK law that I learned. Hopefully, I did not lose anybody there.
I mean, that makes sense. This was a predatory interview, and hopefully Elle's mom sues them or whatever.
I know, that's insane. Yeah. I mean, the mom did say, you'll be hearing from me. So,
right.
Hell yeah. I gotta say, I love that the mom is the one going off in this scene. It makes me really happy because, so like in season 2, we had seen the dad be like, obviously he was joking, but he was being protective of Elle, mostly to Tao, and it was mostly just teasing. But in this moment, the mom especially is just like, you don't touch my kid. And that just warmed my heart, but it broke my heart, simultaneously warming my heart, seeing this mom who like genuinely just, wow.
It's always great to see a parent fighting for their child.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Dior, do you need a break?
I need a minute.
Yeah, okay. Go. Take it. I'm going to pause. Should I pause or should I keep going? Okay.
Okay, so we're... Next scene, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, kind of in between this whole part where Elle's going for her interview, we kind of cut between this and the other part of the scene where at the same time we assume that Nick and Charlie are at the classics seminar for Jack Maddox, the author that Charlie is obsessed with and has a crush on. So, and that kind of alternates between this and the interview that Elle is at. So we kind of get to this point where they go to the seminar and Nick immediately says, ready to meet the love of your life? And Charlie immediately catches on and is giving Nick some shit for it, for being jealous. He's like, I'm allowed to have a crush on a celebrity. He's like teasing him because it's like, look, we're secure in this relationship. You know, there's no way in hell I'm going to leave you for this guy, obviously. First of all, like, he's famous. I'm me. I'm a person who is not famous. This guy's a celebrity. Not that matters necessarily, but in his mind, he's like, this is a celebrity, completely distant from me. Never met this guy. He's not an option. Why are you jealous? It's just funny. And Nick immediately just goes, I can't believe I'm about to be replaced. Which you can tell is completely joking. But there's definitely still a hint of jealousy there. Like, that Charlie is infatuated with somebody else, if you will.
Well, it's like, also like, for Jack Maddox as well. Like, for Nick, it's like, oh, he's also got the intellectual thing going on that I don't have. So it's not just the looks. He's like, he shares one of Charlie's major interests, like he's at the top of his field kind of way. So I think there's also that little bit of intimidation that Nick, even not that there's a competition. If Nick is mentally trying to compete with him, he's like, I can't compete with the classics. Because, like, we see it in this interview. Like, he says stuff and Nick's like, I don't even know what's happening, what they're talking about. So... yeah,
that is very true. Yeah, so on that note, I definitely at some point need a scene about Nick fawning over David Tennant, and then
Yes.
Charlie just being like, "Look, see, you can have crushes too. It's fine. I need this. I need Nick."
I want that.
Seriously, I need the scene of Nick watching Good Omens and going, "Oh my god, David Tennant's hot." Charlie,
Yes.
I know why I love Doctor Who, because David Tennant's hot. Yeah. Also, I actually need to see where Charlie basically discovers, which I think this is also in the comics, is that they discover that Nick has a type. Nick likes his dark hair and bright eyes. I think in the comics it's canon that he has a crush on Zooey Deschanel. Like Zooey Deschanel is one of his crushes, celebrity crushes.
Mm-hmm.
Which again,
That's cute.
dark hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
I know there's another example in there that I can't remember, but I just remember Zooey Deschanel because I remember hearing that and I was just like, yeah, me too, Nick. Me too.
Yeah.
Zooey Deschanel, for God's sake.
Nick's got good taste.
He's got good taste. Yeah, so in this moment of jealousy, in walks Jonathan Bailey, aka the gentleman who is playing Jack Maddox. But yeah, if we're gonna give Olivia Colman this treatment of we don't even call her by her character name, she's just Olivia Colman, I do it with Jonathan Bailey. Jonathan Bailey walks in. I love this man. I've never seen Bridgerton, but I love this man.
Is that where he's from?
That's like I think kind of where he's got a lot of his big break, specifically like with Netflix, because he's in Bridgerton. Especially like season 2, he was like one of the main characters. Again, never seen Bridgerton. I don't really know much about it except that he's in it, and apparently he has like this whole enemies to lover storyline in season 2. So I'm like, good for him. Good for him. He apparently does playing a straight man really well, even though he's not. That's like his reputation, I guess, which is really funny. But yeah, in walks Jonathan Bailey. Naturally, Charlie has to reiterate, oh my god, he's so hot. And the look on Nick's face. Oh, the look on Nick's face. Just pure jealousy. Pure jealousy. It's so funny. Yeah, so then we cut back at some point to Elle's interview. And then after that scene in Elle's interview, we come back to the lecture, and Jack is now mid-lecture, and he makes this joke. And he says, you know, you can't trust a Mesopotamian to source your copper ingot. Which makes the whole audience, except for Nick, laugh. This bothered me. I was like, what does that mean? Because I don't remember anything about Mesopotamia. I felt so left out of this joke. So I Googled that shit. I literally just Googled Mesopotamia copper. And I got something like this whole feed of just like this thing called the complaint tablet to Ea Nashir or something. I have no idea how to pronounce that. So apparently, according to the Guinness World Records, this is the oldest recorded customer complaint in history that we know of.
What?
So it's a tablet. It is currently on display at the British Museum, and it's this tablet from ancient Mesopotamia. Some merchant from Mesopotamia sold some like substandard, is what the article said, substandard copper to this customer. Customer hated it so much, was so mad about it, that they carved it into a whole ass tablet to complain about it. There's also an entire subreddit about it called Really Shitty Copper. It's just a bunch of memes based on this story. 100% Charlie would be on that subreddit, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
But apparently this went viral back in 2015, and I'd never heard about it before, and so I've totally missed out on this whole thing.
Hilarious.
But so
this is something that would go viral on Tumblr. You know
Tumblr,
what I mean?
and then
so niche.
Reddit, probably on Reddit.
And Reddit.
Yeah.
Well, I saw something.
Karen.
Yeah, I saw something like when the Karen thing was big, like the oldest customer complaint, but I never like learned anything
World's
about
first Karen.
Yeah. My favorite one that I saw, I just kind of like scrolled through real quick. My favorite one was somebody photoshopped the tablet on like the display at the museum. They photoshopped out the tablet, and it said in another universe, he was actually really good at selling copper, and so the tablet never existed.
I love that so much.
That was my history rabbit hole I went down. I just thought that was, now that I know that joke, now that I get what that reference is, that joke's actually really fucking funny.
Oh my god, that is really fucking funny.
But I basically was Nick in this scene where that shit went right over my head the first time. I'm like, what?
If you asked me what Mesopotamia is, I wouldn't even be able to answer.
I remember learning the Fertile Crescent. That's all I remember.
Yeah,
I don't even know what those words
I don't even know what it
okay.
meant. I just remember that's what it was. I was like, yeah. And Mesopotamia is a fun.
I probably would
name.
have told you it was a made-up land in a story.
No, Caitlin,
History,
that's Yugopotamia.
I'm not good at history. Let's continue.
That's Yugopotamia, which I'm realizing maybe that is a play off of Mesopotamia. That's in Fairly Odd Parents. I don't know. Yeah. She goes, what planet are you from? Yugopotamia? Anyway. I watched way too much cartoons as a kid. So, yeah, that joke goes over Nick's head. He's the only one in the audience that doesn't laugh. Same, buddy. I was confused at first, but now I get it. Now it's funny. And it is, it's funny. And so he offers to answer another question, and Charlie is selected, lucky boy. And he asks a question about if Jack has any recommendations on books in queerness in ancient Greece, which I had to go back and watch this with captions because I didn't quite catch what he was saying. I just heard something Greece, and I was like, huh? So he asked about queerness in ancient Greece, which I thought was kind of neat. Jack immediately, his response is, now that's a wonderful question. Like with such enthusiasm, which would make any fanboy's day, to ask your celebrity crush something and then go, that's a wonderful thing.
I know, Charlie must be dying on the inside.
Oh my god. I think
the artist would have recommendations too.
Yeah, I think it's really cute that Nick even smiled and like went to hold Charlie's hand because he just like, I think he could tell how excited Charlie was in that moment, and I think he also kind of saw some of Jack's charm now throughout the lecture. He's probably just like, okay, I can kind of see why you like him. He sees cool. Also, just like the fact that he is like sharing in Charlie's passion right now. I think it's really sweet. Like,
it is.
Me and when? I need somebody who does this. And also at the end of this little scene, how freaking dare they cut to the next scene before we find out what the hell this enthralling book he read in Milan was? Because I want to read it.
Seriously.
This enthralling book about queerness in ancient Greece. I want to know what that is. How dare. So if anybody in the comments knows any books about queerness in ancient Greece
that are enthralling,
that Jonathan Bailey would 100% read, please
leave it in the comment.
Yeah. I need more book recs because, So after the lecture, we head to the book signing where Charlie actually gets to come up face to face with his celebrity crush. Dying. Oh my gosh. He starts with his signature little shy hi, which we haven't seen in a hot second. I don't think we've seen like this level of him being kind of shy since season 1. First of all, our sweet and quietly confident boy has come so far. I'm so proud of him.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's such a good catch. It's true.
Because it's like his iconic hi.
Yeah, he's been more confident with his highs. Yeah.
Yeah, which means he really likes Jonathan Bailey.
I mean, that's fair.
Jonathan Bailey, yeah.
I'll say all the gays and the gay men and the bi girlies, they get it. So yeah, so he tells Jack he's like a huge fan and he wants to study classic literature at his university, probably. So it's like his absolute passion. So Jack basically is a huge inspiration for his passion. And when Jack signs Charlie's book, he tells him, study hard, don't ignore your Latin vocab, which I thought was really cute because throwback to season 1, there's a conversation. You kind of you miss it if you don't pause. It's in episode 2 of season 1. Nick and Charlie have like this text conversation that you see Charlie scroll through before Cal immediately says, Charlie, he's straight. And in the text conversation, yeah, wait, God, talk about, does it ever drive you crazy how fast the night changes? Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Yes.
So literally in that text conversation, Nick finds out that Charlie's studying Latin. Nick flat out calls Charlie a nerd. He says, you have been exposed as a nerd. Charlie goes, rude. So we'll talk about full circle that we've got Nick's not only here with Charlie at the lecture, he is supporting his partner in his passion, letting him nerd out and embracing him as a nerd. But Nick's an enabler in this sense because he bought the freaking tickets. Mind you, he didn't just buy Charlie's ticket, he bought himself a ticket to come with Charlie, which is so sweet.
It's so cute.
So this is like Nick Nelson just setting the bar every single day. Like, so like support your partner in their passions. Hell yeah. I just thought that was the cutest thing. It's just like, yeah, your boyfriend's really a nerd cute. And you love it. Admit it, you love it. He does. So after that, Jack, this is the part that made me cackle. So Jack asks Nick,
oh my God,
if he can do anything for him, like can he sign something, get a photo, whatever. And Nick just suddenly gets so flustered because now he's being addressed by this very attractive man, who is right in front of his face and is full of charm. And he just is like, gets so flustered, gets stuttery. He doesn't even say the word Mesopotamia, right? He says Mesopota and something. I don't remember. And that part just made me laugh. But first of all, kid's acting here, top notch, because I got full on secondhand embarrassment watching this scene. It was so freaking funny. The way that he wheels around and like full on smacks into this other poor random dude. This guy's like so caught off guard.
That was my favorite part.
It's just, he says, nice to meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks. Nice meeting you. Nice to meet you. Like, says it multiple times and then smacks into this guy as he's like trying to run away. So cute. Dude, you poor thing. Nick's in mood. Charlie's face the whole time during this interaction is just like, babe, you good? Like he's just watching like, what is happening right now? Like he's just amazed. I don't know if Charlie's ever seen Nick get this flustered / like
right,
like speechless about anything. Not that we've seen, at least.
No.
And Nick just going, yeah, he's really hot. As we walk away. Like,
this is so funny.
The way that Charlie's probably feeling like so smug.
Yes.
First, like he's probably feeling a combination of things. Like he's probably so amused. He's probably overjoyed. First of all, the fact that Nick is like sharing in that passion with him and is embracing, and he can see like why Charlie loves it so much. So Charlie's probably so happy about that. But he's smug as hell because there is no way in hell that he's ever letting Nick live this one down. Even if it's only ever mentioned between them, if they just keep this between them, they never tell anybody else. You know he's gonna bring it up at some point. He's not gonna let Nick live that down. Because it was so
as he shouldn't. This was hilarious. Because like Nick was being jealous AF at the beginning of this, and then Charlie's like, "Yeah, come around to my way of thinking. Have you, Nick?"
Mm-hmm.
By the end of this,
yeah, he's really hot. Yeah, duh.
Yeah, I told you. Well, Charlie would be like, really am cute. I getting replaced?
Yeah, right?
Well, now it's something they can bond over.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was hilarious. Everything about that was really funny.
Such a funny scene.
It's such amazing. A funny scene. And such a Cute scene.
Amazing acting by everybody, honestly.
Yeah. Oh my god. Anyway, I love that situation. Okay, so like, all right, so then we leave the sexy nerd man seminar, and then we head over to Charlie's room. And like, okay, when, as to your point, when you and your partner are fanboying over the same man, naturally that sets the mood, right? So Nick and Charlie just roll with that, literally, in Charlie's room and start like making out aggressively in Charlie's bed. It's kind of like where we started the episode, plus Jonathan Bailey. Okay, or his influence, the ghost of Jonathan Bailey is in this room. Not that he's a ghost, but like his essence is in the room. It came with the book, right? So they start making out, and then Nick starts getting super handsy because they're alone, allegedly. And as this like kind of happens, we start getting animations into Charlie's mindset. Okay, so we start seeing his anxiety spiking when Nick starts like getting handsy, basically. And what I like about this scene, it's hard to watch because Charlie's anxiety, but Charlie, you can see like is fighting his anxiety the best that he can, and is trying to just like get past it to like keep going, because like deep down he does want to like keep going when it comes to Nick, but like his anxiety is fighting him. And so like it's really hard to watch Charlie be like, no, I can push through it, and it's just like it's not working. And then it like gets to the breaking point when Nick he asks to take Charlie's shirt off. And that's like when Charlie's like, nope, anxiety wins. And Nick, to his credit, being a good partner who's very good at communicating, does like notice at this point that Charlie's like not okay. And he tries to talk to Charlie about it. But the theme of this episode is them boys get interrupted. So Jane comes in, which is like the worst person to like walk in on this. Because she induces anxiety in everybody in this scene, not just Charlie. Poor Nick is like scarred for life after this. So Mama walks in and they spring apart, but they're on the bed and Nick is visibly panicking, and Mama ain't blind. So she's like, you guys good? And then she like awkwardly like talks to them and then like leaves, but leaves the door open because them boys were getting handsy.
But it's a nice subtle way of like saying, knock it off, without being like drawing attention
What
to
were
it
you
more and,
doing?
like, having a conversation.
Right.
Because maybe she's learning that, oh, if I say anything right now, it's just going to make things worse. I'll subtly do it to get my point across.
But also, these are waspy people. They're not going to talk about sex out in the open. That's just not what white Anglo-Saxons do. They're just going to be like, you good? Let's leave door open. I'm down the hall, just so you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think also part of, if I remember from the comic side, I don't know how much it's true to canon in the show, but in the comics, I think part of why she really tries to enforce the bedroom door open policy is like just like because of him, like with his relapse and everything a few months ago, like just trying to make sure that, you know, like whenever he shuts the door that everything's fine. Like, you know, just it's mostly just for her sake of like feeling at ease, I think.
And that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Like if Charlie had suicide ideation in the past, like, and he's still on his recovery, like that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how true it is to like the show, like in this canon in their minds, but yeah. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, the animation, I love the way that it like it's so complex with there's the sparks flying, but then there is the static that's like surrounding Charlie. It starts to engulf him. So it's like you can tell he's trying so hard to be present, trying to like give in to the desire that he has for Nick in the moment, but the static does continue to kind of engulf him and he just can't quite get past it. And I think it's an interesting touch. They modified from the comics how this scene is done just very slightly. There is this moment in the comics where Charlie gets so deep into his own head that it's just a single shot of him by himself, like curled in on himself. And obviously, like the animation's a little different to the comics because in the comics there's a lot of specks are all around him that we see, whereas in the show it's more of like actual fuzz and static. I think it's just to kind of help demonstrate what's going on in his brain a lot more. But we don't see that moment of Charlie wrapping himself like or curling in on himself in the show. And I wonder if it's because like I'm not sure, honestly. I think maybe it's just because like it didn't seem necessary for the sake of us understanding what's going on in Charlie's head, because we get it. We've seen it earlier on in this episode. So but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because we did get the mirror scene where Charlie was kind of like closing himself off physically by like, grabbing his arm across his chest. So like, yeah, maybe that was supposed to be the replacement scene, because for this scene it just kind of like goes from Charlie's anxiety to mom interrupting to like them actually talking. So maybe it didn't flow,
or maybe it just seemed like it was too intense for this moment, honestly, because in the comics they have just come home from school when they have this scene happen. So in this moment, obviously, like Charlie's probably still on a high of like, I just met my celebrity crush, and also my boyfriend also thinks this guy's hot, so they just had like a lot of fun where they just were. So maybe it kind of takes away from that because it's not as intense, but there's still like the anxiety and the nerves. So
yeah, it definitely makes the transition into the rest of the scene like less dark, less heavy, even though like, I mean, big topic they're about to talk to. So after Jane leaves, Charlie and Nick finally do talk about like the body dysmorphia a little bit, and Charlie basically admits he's nervous about taking his shirt off because he has scars and he doesn't have a six-pack like Jonathan Bailey does. And Nick, as always, the best boy, has the perfect response, which is, I don't care about any of that. And it really boils down to like, you're the one that I want, Charlie. Like, it's you. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. And that really eases Charlie's anxiety more than anything. That was basically word Xanax, what Nick just did. And it was so perfect because like in his head, like Charlie was definitely like compare himself to Nick a little bit. He's like, well, Nick's like rugby fit and all this stuff. And I know why I'm into him physically. What the hell does he see in me? We're so different body type wise. And so to hear it directly from Nick to be like, it's you, everything about you, like basically is what Nick was saying, like was the perfect response for Charlie truly in that moment. So now finally they're on the same page about like, the physical things. So that we'll get to that in another episode. But first we have to bookend this episode with therapy with Jeff, because that's how we started and that's how we're going to end. Except this time, I love that we end with basically Jeff doing relationship therapy for him, because in the beginning they joked about that and Charlie's like, what do I feel like I'm in relationship therapy right now? Jeff's like, maybe in like 10 years, but then they end the episode basically with relationship therapy, which the irony of that is hilarious to me. And then we get some shots like of like basically Jeff's office, and we get this one really cute like glimpse of like what's on his desk or a shelf. I couldn't tell exactly, but like there's this really cute little card that somebody made him, obviously, that's like a thank you card, and he's got like the pride flag, and like Jeff is so cute and just, oh my god,
I love it.
It's
Again,
adorable.
Seeing the progress pride flag there, it just gives acceptance.
But you can also tell that just like he's a beloved therapist by like all his clients, not just like what we're seeing with, not that what we're seeing with Charlie is like a one-off thing. It's just like he's a very good therapist, which is just a safe person. So I just love that about him. So in this conversation, they get to the root of Charlie's anxiety when it comes to all the body dysmorphia. Well, maybe not the body dysmorphia, but like what the block really is when it comes to physical intimacy with Nick. And it has to do with the lack of control, because given Charlie's OCD, that makes total sense. Like basically like having sex for the first time is something that's kind of out of your control in a lot of ways. And it's very new and scary. So for somebody with OCD, I can't even imagine. Like, I think that's part of it with Charlie. He's like, I would have to relinquish a lot of control to Nick and like hope for the best, and that can be very intimidating and scary.
Yeah, plus like back in season 1, he had like Ben literally assaulted him. So like
Yeah.
that is like as close as he's gotten to intimacy in the worst way possible.
That's really true. Where he had zero agency and zero control. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So he probably has some PTSD from that
Oh
too.
yeah.
For sure. And I think Charlie said it. I can't remember if it was in this scene at the beginning where he's like, I don't want that. Basically what happened with Ben, I don't want that to define me. And it's so true, but like, you know, he's still going to have these lingering fears that he's dealing with. It's just, you know, it will take him some time kind of thing. And Jeff basically says like, well, the key is trusting Nick. So like basically Nick is not Ben is the big bottom line. And like, in order for that to work, you two need to communicate, which they do. And also like, and then he's like, also as the dad in the room, practice safe sex. And like, I love how he immediately he's like, there's free condoms outside, go get them. They're in the lobby. Like and like insert the teenage urge to squirm during this part. Cause like you look at Charlie and he's just like, oh God, like, you know, he just becomes a teenager in this moment. He's like, I'm uncomfortable. You're adult talking about sex. Anyway, which I think is really so funny. And Jeff reminds Charlie, because again, it's a lack of like confidence too on Charlie's part. And he's like, listen, Charlie, like you have confidence. And he runs through the list. He's like, you told Nick you loved him first. You asked Nick, you know, all these things. It's not like you don't have confidence. Like it's the problem is like feeling confident sometimes. And he's like, and that's normal. It's basically a challenge that everybody goes through and you're going to go through every single day is like feeling confidence, but like know that you have it in you to like do these things because you do. Just like you have to like believe in yourself basically and feel it.
Yeah, Charlie is such a quietly confident guy. I think he doesn't even
Agreed.
Like you said, he doesn't even realize it for most of this. Like to like cue back to season 1, which we get the freaking flashback to get me and my freaking feelings about that. Jesus. Where Nick and Charlie have their first kiss because Charlie literally gets the confidence to say, like, would you kiss me? Like, what? My 14-year-old ass could never.
No.
But also, like, after that, like, standing up to Ben at the end of season 1, and then again in season 2, standing up to Ben, slamming the door in Harry's face in season 2. Like,
oh yeah,
this boy's got like flashes of confidence that we see that I don't even know if he realizes because he just has the emotion in the moment and he's just past the point of giving a shit. He's like, no, you've hurt me enough. We're done. And I love that. But it's clear that he hasn't seen, like he doesn't see that. It's hard to see yourself sometimes. It's the outside looking in from people around you that can say like, you know, you've done this, this, and this, and you don't realize, oh yeah, I guess I did do that, didn't I? So, yeah. And so when he does say, I guess I just don't feel confident, it's just like, I think you have it in you, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, a good example from this episode is like when Tara was having the panic attack. Like, Charlie had all the confidence in the world in that moment to be like, breathe, do this, do that. There was like no hesitation, no nothing. So like, you're right. He has these moments where he exhibits confidence, but he doesn't realize he's doing it is kind of the thing, like you said. So good pep talk from Jeff, good relationship. I love how it ended with relationship advice, basically. He's like, no, I don't need that from you. And then, yes, you do. But very cute. And then at the end of like the, you know, mock down memory lane montage, Charlie looks out the window and we see those animated birds from like the comics / Paris. And that's where it ends. So like a hopeful like lovebird note, which is cute. Yeah.
That's where we end.
That's where we end. Okay, so that was episode 6. So time for the Big Gay Energy Award. Ooh, this one's hard, actually. I'm gonna give it to Sahar and Imogen for like having their like conversation being like, let's be friends. Oh god, hold on.
We're gonna restart that section. Woo! I'm getting tired.
My neighbors are also, for some reason, having a screaming match next door. I'm just like, why? Why?
Oh, my neighbors had like the home theater going on, and there was just like booming going on for most of today.
It's just insane. Like, you know, other people live here, right? Clearly not.
Yeah, the neighbors downstairs yell a lot.
Ugh.
Okay, sorry. Julie came home,
The
I can
wifey.
tell.
so she wasn't going to stop barking. Okay, I'll just start that over. Okay,
Yeah.
big gay energy award. Okay, I'm going to give the big gay energy award to Sahar and Imogen for their little confession scene and being like, let's just be friends and work on our friendship. That took a lot to confess that they like were basically each other's like queer awakening in a way, and then are just gonna like work on their relationship with each other. I like that scene.
That was mine too, but more specifically, even Imogen admitting that she was hurting Sahar
Yes.
and just like admitting everything. Like Imogen has come so far, so she definitely deserves the Big Gay Energy Award.
Yeah, I
She's
agree.
finally
with that.
coming into her own.
I'm gonna give Michael the Big Dad Energy Award.
Oh my god. Also Michael Holden, yeah. Yeah, that's so true.
Full on dad. Like, he honestly, like, in the sweetest way, he reminded me kind of my dad when we go camping. When he said morning campers, I'm like, my dad would do that.
So cute.
Yeah, it's cute.
He's such a dad. Love it.
So are you changing your Big Gay Energy Award to Big Dad Energy?
In this episode specifically, yes. He is
Okay.
Big Dad Energy.
I love that. I'll accept that. I accept that, Jade.
I like to think Michael will, at some point in his life, work with kids, like either be a teacher or be a counselor, like, or something. Could you imagine him being in charge of a bunch of children? That'd be amazing.
God.
You're the best camp counselor ever.
He really would
No.
be.
He would be in charge of like older, middle, like high school kids, and then randomly get thrust into having to take care of like a group of elementary school kids and be like, what is going on? Okay, so wrapping up, if you made it this far in the episode, we want to know, use this phrase in a comment or review. Again, it would be really funny if you put this in a review. Today's secret phrase is sexy nerd man seminar. Is that what you said?
I don't remember.
That was gonna be my runner-up for the award, was sexy nerd man, whatever. Jonathan Bailey.
Yeah,
Jonathan
sexy
Bailey.
nerd man seminar. That is what Theora said. It went through. It was originally supposed to be Queers Intense, and then it was going to be Mesopotamia, and then as soon as Theora said that, and Elena couldn't stop laughing,
Sexy
I was like,
nerd
that
man
one's it.
seminar.
We're trying to go into the serious talk about this next scene. I'm like, I can't stop. I'm sorry. I gotta be serious now. I'm just cackling over here. That's funny.
This is serious, Elena.
It's so serious.
Yeah, we go. This is serious. Hi.
And this
Well-
is so serious, but it's the end.
It is.
Ugh.
The end. Sexy Nerd Man Seminar has come to an end. So we'll be back next time to discuss episode 307, which is the penultimate episode for season 3. And until next time, everybody, hydrate for Lesbian Jesus.
And gay it up all over the place. Bye.
And with that, we've been Big Gay Energy. If you like this episode, check out all our other episodes right here on YouTube. Please like, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more amazing, super gay content.
If you'd like to support us, check out our merch store or join our Patreon for early access to episodes, exclusive content, and so much more.
Until next time, stay safe and hydrate for Lesbian Jesus.